Husky.
Good morning, it's another day, my friend. But soon the sunshine turns to moonlight, life goes on. You take some time to say goodnight, you close your eyes to dream next thing tomorrow's here.
It's a brand new day, never hold on to hate. Cause you was placed here to be great. Please take your place. All queens got a seat at my table. Cause without y'all, then the man ain't able. Melanated queen, connected to the universe. And so I gotta thank my mom for my birth. If hate is the curse, then love is the remedy. So I send you love no matter creed or identity. Until infinity, look at you like you kin to me. Even when we disagree, yo, you still kin to me. In other words, I can't bring you no trouble, can't bring you no beef, don't wanna see you deceased. Now if I'm coming at you, I'm coming with a business plan. Cause every day I'm on some, yo, let's get this money, man. Yeah, and that's my real plans. I rest my head at night, I wake up, I got another plan.
Good morning, it's another day, my friend. But soon the sunshine turns to moonlight, life goes on.
Tell me why we don't get money together, but we'll kill each other over whatever. Running down the freeway, we gonna own down. If Black Lives Matter, why we gonna own down? That's why they laugh and they think that we clowns. They hear what we say, but see how we get down. We gotta change that now, right now to be exact. Cause hurting that man's moms is not where it's at now. Old school, new school, need to learn, yo. They put us in groups so they can make more dough. The young versus the old versus the young. Black versus white, you see the pattern, right? No unity, keep them all on some gutter-ish. This way they don't prosper and get rich. Yo, can't you see it's a trick? Just open your third eye and you'll see the full view of it. Now yo, what if the powers that be know that the real power lies within the people? That's us. And what if they using things like crayon colors, black and white, to separate the people? Hey, yo, you gotta wake up. Don't let them fool y'all. Spread love.
Good morning, it's another day, my friend. But soon the sunshine turns to moonlight, life goes on. You take some time to say goodnight, you close your eyes to dream next thing tomorrow's.
All right, y'all, good morning.
It's another day.
Shout out to everybody who's in here.
Soon the sunshine turns to moonlight.
Yes, sir. Y'all know what to do. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can hear me. Drop a 1 in the chat if you can see me on this Thursday morning. We are about to get into it. Appreciate everybody who's in the building. Oh my goodness, 600 of y'all up in here. Okay, looks like we got some ones in the chat. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Man, what a day, what a day. How's everybody doing? Still, prayers going out to everybody who's in Florida dealing with Hurricane Milton. Hopefully everybody is safe. Y'all made it through. We'll talk about that in a minute. But before we get into it, welcome y'all. Welcome back to another YouTube live stream and another episode of the Music Morning Show. I'm your host, ClassE Beats of ClassEbeats.com. Today, we're going to do a little bit of a review. Apparently, we missed a lot of goings on in court yesterday afternoon. Y'all know we finished the live stream at 12:30, and some of y'all watched and finished reviewing a lot of the court proceedings that took place yesterday afternoon. But there are some key what should I say, instances or some key points and things that were pointed out in yesterday afternoon's court proceedings that we're going to talk about today, and we're going to go over and review. Don't worry, we're going to skip over the rest of that phone call. So that phone call yesterday was some BS, but either way, we'll go ahead and get into it. I gotta say good morning to the people though, and thank y'all for being here. Shout out to everybody who's in the building. We've got, of course, the awesome, amazing Amy is up in here showing love and support early this morning. We've got Nicholas is in here. Savvy Amir's in the building. We got J Mommy up in here. What's up? Athena, Kayla, Tiffany. We've got Anita in the building as well. Shout out to Candace Yates. Dropping the 20 bomb early this morning, says, hey, Classy Beats, good morning, fam. Let's go. Yeah, y'all, I'm here to give y'all your daily YSL fix. So we're going to be good today. We've got Landon's is in the building. Shout out to McKinley and Christina. Randall King, my guy. Here comes drama. Shout out to you for being here. We've got Basie. Steve is in here. Cookie Cooks is in the building as well. Shout out to Monica. We've got Deanna B. Oh my gosh. Who else is in the building? We've got John in here. Salute, sir. And thank you for your service, as always. Ryan's in the building. We've got Loa is up in here. Deborah Lewis. We got Laura Macias. Good to see you in here. The World's End is in the building. Grind Lil Mike is up in here too. Grind Lil Mike time is in the building. We found Lil Mike. Shout out to Lil Mike. Tammy is in the building. Good to see you. We've got Keela in here. Erica, Michi. Oh my gosh, there's so many y'all. Stacy, man. We've got... Who else is in here? Janelle's in the building. Rashida, good to see you. Good morning. We've got Lon, says no court today. No, there is no court today. And we're going to talk about that here in a second because it's interesting that there's no court. There might be some rumors as to why that's the case. We'll get into it here in a second. Chat King is in the building. We got Granny Mo. Mitch Chick is up in here. Charles, Fran, My Wings, Free Spirit, Sabrina, Holden, Pamela, Chantel. Oh my God. We got everybody up in here. If I missed you, just know I appreciate you being here. Thank you so much to everyone who's in the building. I'll be saying good morning to a couple of y'all throughout the show as well. If you could do me one favor, and it's the number one way you can support the show, is if you could like the video on your way in. Not only does it help the show continue to grow, but it lets the YouTube algorithm know that you guys are enjoying the show, and it shares the video with more people. So I appreciate everybody who's liked the video so far. Thank you to all 1,800 of y'all who are in the building as well. Also, I will be reading super chats throughout the show, and a big thank you to everybody who sends in super chats and keeps the lights on here at the Music Morning Show. Again, shout out to Candace Yates for dropping the 20 bomb. I appreciate you. Somebody asked me a question in the chat too. Yeah, McKinley in here said they've got a meeting today at 9. Yeah, let's talk about that. So some information has come out about what's possibly going on and why there is no court today. We have one of the reporters that is actually in the courtroom mentioned yesterday in a tweet that Judge Whitaker said that tomorrow, meaning today, they will have a meeting with attorneys, but no motions will be discussed. The meeting will take place in the courtroom, but it will be closed to the media and the public since it's not really part of the trial. Now, you all might be wondering, what is going on in this meeting? There has been rumors I've heard circulating. It may have something to do with Miss Love and a situation she's had going on in the courtroom. It could be because of the conversation that Brian Steele had with Judge Whitaker at the bench that he wanted to keep under seal, and she told him that she would. So I haven't received any solid information on this. I have some things that I could possibly share, but you know, I don't want to put people out there like that. But we'll keep you guys apprised as what's going on and what possibly could be the reason for the meeting this morning. If we hear any updates, I'll definitely let you know. We've got some more super chats in the building too. Shout out to my guy, the Honorable Attorney Joshua Van Lawn is in the building. Excuse me. I thought I had to sneeze, it wouldn't go. He dropped the 2 bomb and he said hashtag no snitches. Hey, let Lil Woody tell it. Snitches get riches. Am I right? So I don't know. Joshua Van Lawn, that might be an outdated phrase now. Snitches were winning this year. One of them got a plea deal. Another one's making tons of money, doing interviews, and is on a media tour right now. So I don't know. Snitching might be the new thing. This world is crazy. We also have Here Comes Drama in the building. Dropped a 20 bomb, said hit that subscribe and share. Yeah, if y'all want to share the video, hey, that's going like next level. So thank you so much, and thank you for the super chat. Here Comes Drama. Snitches out here winning. Shout out to Minnie Perkins, says great content you put out. I enjoy watching your content. I appreciate y'all. Okay, I've done enough talking. I'm gonna be talking and interrupting throughout the show enough anyway. So let's go ahead and get into it. As I promised y'all, we're going to skip through the BS of that phone call because good God. It's like we had to listen to 30 minutes of barbershop talk from two guys who mentioned YSL and this, that they weren't feeling what was going on in YSL. Nothing, in my opinion, pertinent to this case. And Mr. Atkins, I guess, is going to try and communicate why he thinks this phone call is important. And that's where we're going to pick up at after they came back from lunch. Also, we have a new sound effect.
And so what we have ultimately is that there is no evidence.
None. So shout out to the amazing, honorable Keith Adams for giving us that new sound effect. I will be abusing that thoroughly throughout the show. Here we go. Let's get into it. Y'all like the video?
Yeah. There's a fool there.
I won't do it, Brooklyn.
Yeah. Somebody, man, they said he wrote the ball. Like, no, they ain't came to no deal.
This is just the last few seconds, all right? Y'all don't worry.
Spreadsheet.
Here we go.
And, Your Honor, the spreadsheet, the state's not going to be playing 9:45 to 11 minutes.
Okay.
So I just focus on the first three. And for the 2 minutes to 2 minutes and 16 seconds, and he's talking with, I believe, Dewaskin Watt, right, a 30 Deep member, and he says, you know that those guys have a spot in Pittsburgh, part of the city of Atlanta, and he says, we need a spot like that that we can roll out of. And so what
my question with this too is the guys who are on this phone call, I mean, they're saying they're pushing, never mind, I'm gonna leave it alone.
state believes they're talking about getting
I'm gonna let them
a
go.
trap spot, essentially, to where they can go and quickly navigate and go in and out of. The next portion, which is
Okay, well,
Yes, Your
stop.
Honor.
And on that portion, how is there any indication there that that's related to anything other than his own desire to be selling drugs?
Great question, Judge Whitaker. And the reason this is important is because we've seen this throughout the entire RICO. How does this apply to Jeffrey Williams? And that's what Judge Whitaker is asking. Is there anything showing that this is in the furtherance of YSL? Is there anything showing that Jeffrey Williams knew about it, encouraged it, and actually pushed them to do this to help YSL? We all know. The answer is no.
so, Your Honor.
Oh, y'all need me to turn it
Another
up?
call, which I don't think we've
I got
gotten to yet, where Demekion Garlington is
Not
talking
another call.
with,
Oh, God.
I believe, Mr. Wright. I'll check my notes, and he's telling him you should sell your Percocets on Instagram. It's how you can get customers. And he's mentioning, we will get to this call, and he says SB, talking about defendant Stillwell, was basically successful of getting Percocets sold online and Instagram. We also have embedded, there's no, in this specific case, I don't have, and oftentimes you do not have specific, Garlington and Mr. Wright got a trap spot after this conversation, and they put up a big sign that says, this is the YSL trap house. We're going to give our proceeds to our fellow gang members.
That's
But it's
wild.
the fact that
Come on, man.
they, there's some uniformity because there's a spot called The Web that's referenced in 2015 and also comes up when we get to Antonio Sumlin's wiretap in 2022. And so areas where they can operate freely and sell narcotics, or Waters Road is similar in terms of going, a lot of times there's firearms there as well, is a common theme. So to answer the court's question, I do not have specific evidence of Mr. Wright and Mr. Garlington after this conversation, getting another trap house spot. There is on Garlington's wiretap a trap spot where he's actively saying, hey, there's a new customer, go outside and come back, selling primarily or almost exclusively Percocet pills off of Moreland. But to answer the court's question with this specific clip, I do not, the states wanted to get this part in talking about we need a spot we can roll from, just like these other group of people have in Pittsburgh.
Wow.
Right. And so what we have ultimately is that there is no evidence, none.
That is one of the greatest reaches I've seen in this case. He said, so basically, Your Honor, I don't really have anything here. We're trying to paint the picture that these guys were wanting to get a spot, and yeah, they didn't hang a banner that says, "Oh, this is the YSL trap spot." Oh my gosh! Shout out to Keith Adams for the sound effect of this trial. Jeez.
And so what's overall
Hope y'all are hungry. We got a lot of word salad today.
the state's evidence that this is being done as to the benefit of YSL?
So, Your Honor, the state's position in regards to that is Garlington discussing and trying to find or speak about other areas to where they could sell narcotics is in furtherance of the gang. I don't have a specific piece of evidence to point to the court, and it's the state's belief that, inferences can be drawn by the jury in terms of if the state's alleging or putting forth evidence or arguing closing about the web or about Waters Road. This is a wiretap call that is
I'm sorry, I know I'm pausing this a lot. Y'all hear this BS? Judge Whitaker asked him, how does this apply to YSL? And he's like, well, there's nothing that really shows that it does, Judge Whitaker.
The state's evidence that this is being done as to the benefit of YSL.
So, Your Honor, the state's position in regards to that is Garlington discussing and trying to find or speak about other areas to where they could sell narcotics is in furtherance of the gang. I don't have a specific piece of evidence to point to the court.
I don't have a specific piece of evidence to point to the
so
court.
What we have ultimately is that there is no evidence, none.
And it's the state's belief that, inferences can be drawn by the jury in terms of if the state's alleging or putting forth evidence or arguing closing about the web or about Waters Road. This is a wiretap call that is very unlikely they would believe they would be ever heard, more or less introduced in a trial. Talking about freely, we need to get a spot we can roll out of. So it gives some relevance to the state's assertion that these are trap houses versus just places that people hang out who are friends.
All right.
Oh. Thank you, Gerard.
Okay, you want to move on to whatever you were going to say about the next clip?
Yes, Your Honor. The next portion, which is 6 minutes to 8:24, Garlington is discussing B. Slime. Jaboris Greer is who we believe that he's referring to, and he also references Christian McMiller,
like, dang, this case is falling apart,
who the state has addressed to the court. And so he's mentioning money that they gave him for his bond, talking about different amounts and so that has come up periodically from the state in argument or about paying for fellow, and both B. Slime and Christian McMiller, the state believes were YSL members. And so that portion is for paying of bonds of fellow gang members. And so the state, because in terms of why that specific conversation is in furtherance, he's discussing how much each gave. And so it's some cohesiveness in terms of Mr. Wright and Garlington speaking about the bond money he received.
Okay.
Jesus. What? This is embarrassing. So they talked about bond money, and that was in the furtherance of YSL.
And the last one, Your Honor, Garlington starts, it's right around 8 minutes and 28 seconds, where he says, Holmes is definitely tripping with the Shell Kell stuff. And so Shell Kell is someone who's does come up periodically in this case in terms of a rival gang member. And so him discussing Mr. Wright in response to that says he doesn't mess with him. And they're discussing someone else in terms of talking tough, I believe, about what they would do to Shell Kell. But nonetheless, it's the fact that he's, Shell Kell gets referenced quite frequently by the state. This is a private conversation, and Shell Kell specifically will come up in other wiretap calls because Demekion Garlington makes reference in later wiretap calls to a song he made where he says, I have to change and take his name out of it because if something happens to that boy,
Right.
they're going to think it's us.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's the three portions the state want to play, Your Honor.
Okay.
They're going to think it's us, meaning YSL, or us, meaning him and the other person he's... Come on.
And those were generally just relevance objections, or is
To me, the way I'm analyzing this is
Talk about
the
it,
state
Max.
needs to satisfy two separate tests based on my objections. It needs to be relevant, and then it needs to have a way that it's admissible through the rules of evidence beyond relevance. And I'm just not hearing it. I don't, Your Honor asked what evidence they have, and then Mr. Atkins said, well, we don't have evidence of them being Garlington and I guess DeWaskin Wright is who they think this is, getting a trap spot and putting a neon sign that says for YSL. But
Yeah, that's
and I
wild.
agree they don't have that, but they don't have a lot less either. That's kind of a straw man of what we're expecting. They don't have, there's no indication at all that I've seen that Mr. Garlington is, now there's certainly an indication that he's selling drugs, but that his
That's not what he's on trial
drug
for,
dealing
though.
exploits have anything to do with Mr. Stillwell.
Or YSL. The record label.
Other than he talks about selling people pills on the same phone that he happens to use to talk to Mr. Stillwell and other people, but that's not really a nexus. So again, we're just so to me, all of what Garlington has going on, unless there's some link, is completely irrelevant, and it's also subject to 403. But on top of that, when we talk about, Mr. Atkins just brought up, and I'm having a little difficulty following the call,
Yeah.
and what Mr. Garlington's saying, but about bond money. Okay, if Mr. Garlington's on a phone call talking about so-and-so paid so-and-so else's bond, the state needs to figure out, who's going to testify and provide live testimony to this with personal knowledge, because just
Thank you.
talking about what other people have done in the past is not, to my understanding of the law, is not going to fall under a co-conspirator statement. So we have both those issues, and I just don't think that the explanation that the state gave really addressed either of them for this call.
And I know we have a couple of our attorneys in the building. I want to ask y'all, what is the basis for a co-conspirator? I'm going to do some research and look it up myself, but I always make the joke about the Uber driver. If the Uber driver drives you unknowingly or knowingly drives you to a drug pickup and then he takes you home, and then 2 days later you just happen to get the same Uber driver and he drives you to another drug pickup and then takes you home. And say he does that 4 times over the last 2 months, and then you get charged a RICO. I mean, is the Uber driver to be held as a co-conspirator in that case? Because it seems like just having someone's phone number and maybe buying drugs from them makes you a co-conspirator in this entire RICO trial. So y'all have to let me know, because I'm a little confused on that, and I'm going to try and see what I can find myself. Thank you, Chris
is
K.
all of the discussion about the money,
He says, no. Well, it seems like that's what the state's doing, Mr. Van Lawn.
what is that? Is that everything in the past?
Crazy.
Yes, Your Honor. Garlington is
Expressed or implied.
discussing how much money they...
This is a great conversation. So Joshua Van Lawn, the Honorable Attorney Joshua Van Lawn, says there has to be an agreement, expressed or implied. So if you message your Uber driver and he picks you up, he say, hey, I'm about to go get this work. Picks you up, runs you back home. He does it again, say, hey, same thing, man, let's go. Drops you off, picks you up, takes you home. And the Uber driver is aware but he's just doing his job. I mean, God dang. He said there has to be an agreement expressed or implies. He said it doesn't make it right though. So it seems like when it comes to the whole co-conspirator situation, I mean, the line is very blurry. Amy says a co-conspirator is a fellow conspirator, someone engaged in a secret plan by multiple people to do something evil or illegal. Such a plan is called a conspiracy. Yeah, so Uber driver is about to get indicted. I say it all the time jokingly, but y'all Uber drivers better watch out. You're next.
That's what is that? Is that everything in the past?
Yes, Your Honor. Garlington is discussing how much money they gave him for, I believe, his own bond in a prior case.
Okay. So it's his own first-hand knowledge
And
about his own,
shout
what
out
he
to
got?
Joshua.
Correct, because he says,
thank y'all.
B Slime McMain, and B Slime gave me 800 and McMain gave me 500.
Okay.
Giving someone money
And
for
how
bond
is
apparently
them
is wrong too.
discussing that,
So,
furthering the
Exactly.
conspiracy?
yes, Your Honor. So the narrative of past events can be in furtherance if it serves some present purpose. So the state's position is him discussing two other, who the state believes are YSL gang members paying for his bond,
Right.
fosters some cohesiveness. He's talking with Mr. Wright, who is to the state's understanding, an allied gang of 30 deep, which Garlington, Mr. Copeland, and defendant Stillwell, the state sets forth, used to be a part of, and then it kind of became part of YSL. All that aside, that's the state's argument, is that him discussing this, of the money they gave him, fosters a present purpose of cohesiveness.
Yeah, so Joshua Van Lawn is saying you're not even allowed to look the other way, which is kind of crazy. But I mean, that makes sense. He said he's not doing his job if he knows what you're doing is a drug deal. Man, that's crazy. Uber drivers, y'all are cooked.
Cohesiveness with the allied gang?
Yes, Your Honor. Because the speaker, Garlington, he has to be a part of the same conspiracy as who it's held against. So the state's position is that YSL member Garlington is making that statement. That's the state's.
Okay, I don't think that one meets the
Yes, Your Honor.
conspirator exception. And then
Oh, Judge Whitaker agrees with me. Shout out to Judge Whitaker. Thank God. Finally. Judge Whitaker said, nah, we're going to let the Uber drivers live.
okay, was there any further argument on the Shell Kill portion?
That's what I'm saying the world's in.
From the state, Your Honor? Or?
The defense? Anything beyond relevance on that?
Thank you to everybody who's in here. All right, get it together, y'all. I know we're on the replay, but dang.
I guess.
All right, here we go with Max.
I guess it would be the same objection about. I mean, the state articulated what their interest in this call is the fact that Shell Kell, in the argument they just made, Shell Kell's name just keeps getting brought up. Well, okay. I mean, even if that's true, his name keeps getting brought up, and even if to them that has some sort of relevance to the overall story they're trying to tell, we don't have a declarant at this point that is testifying. And I don't, there's no exception. I'm not trying to be smart, but to my understanding, there's no exception to the hearsay rule that the state just gets to say, well, we think it's interesting that someone's name gets brought up a lot, so we want to admit it. I don't see how it falls under 801D to E or anything else. It's just he's talking about past events, as I understand it. I have no idea if he's talking about past events he has personal knowledge of. My guess would be he probably doesn't, but that's speculation. So I just don't see how any of this is admissible. I guess I'm just keep going back to the fallback position. I'm arguing to exclude things, but the fallback position is we're not talking about live testimony here. We're talking about the state playing a tape wiretap. And to me, that requires them to jump through extra hoops, including how it falls under a hearsay exception, and they're just not doing it.
And so how is this part of this conversation in furtherance of the conspiracy?
So, Your Honor, the notes I have is Garlington. He says Holmes, talking about someone else who's not Mr. Wright, not Mr. Garlington, is definitely tripping with the Shell Kell stuff. And then Mr. Wright says, I don't mess with them, plural. But he's like, oh yeah, I got something for him, whoever gets him. And he says the guy is tripping, and he says, and then Garlington says they got him, talking about the same male, in a car. They just seen the boy with him. Talking about this male he's tripping with the Shell Kell stuff because they think he's in a car with him. So it's the...
Here we go with the pronouns again. We already talked about this. I know Judge Whitaker was kind of lenient with the pronouns, but come on, man.
They got him, talking about the same male, in a car. They just seen the boy with him. Talking about this male he's tripping with the Shell Kell stuff because they think he's in a car with him. So it's the fact that they are concerned or discussing someone associating with Shell Kell that the state feels is relevant. I think there also is an argument here in terms of, because the state is not going to be articulating who this person is, there's a non-hearsay argument in terms of it's the fact that they're concerned someone's riding around with Shell Kell. And in terms of the truth of the matter asserted of is Holmes riding around with Shell Kell or not is not why the state's introducing it. It wants to show the jury how they're freely discussing someone who is possibly riding around with someone that they consider a rival gang member. That's the which in my mind falls under both, but almost is more applicable as non-hearsay because the state's not going to be arguing or asserting if this person actually is with Shell Kell or not. It's just the way they're talking about that.
Okay,
Jeez, that's tough.
All right, so they're letting each other know then, though, that so here's this person, Holmes or whatever, that you need to be on the alert. He's hanging with Shell Kell. Is this basically the...
That's how I interpret from listening to what they're saying, Your Honor.
All right. I think that would pass the 801, whatever it is, D2E
If
test.
you say so, Judge Whitaker.
Okay.
Your Honor,
There's
the
a little
next
bit of
three
a
go
stretch.
together.
I agree.
So, PDF page number 3200, 3202, and 3206, which are reference numbers 3171, 3172, and 3177. They're all on April 9th. The first one is at 7:33 p.m., the second one is at 7:35 p.m., and the third one is 7:41 p.m. So they're in a span of 8 minutes. And the reason I wanted to give this backstory is because they all kind of play off one another. And so I'm going to, I don't know what the defense's position on these calls, but I wanted to play them back to back to back. They're quite short.
Okay.
And then address the court.
All right, well, is there going to be objection?
I'm sure there is.
Yes.
The same thing, it's relevance, and they appear, I think a fair reading of it is, it appears to be Demekion Garlington involved in general criminality.
3200.
General criminality. That's an interesting term.
The state's going to play PDF page 3200 first.
Okay.
And I think these next few calls, he said, are just a couple of minutes, so y'all bear with them. Fans are getting wild. We'll skip ahead.
What's up? I ain't got you got a slider?
Have you ever?
What is that? They quit. Oh, they quit, man. I'm tripping. No, that's what we looking for one now. Damn.
Looking for one.
Where the hell you at? Right here with the op. You with the who? Man, I'm with him, buddy. You know I ain't gonna talk on no phone. Hey, look. Oh, for real? Yeah, at the West End. At the West End? Yeah. Damn, man. Hey. And he ain't got no car. Your girl just pulled out in the car. For real? Yeah, that whole peanut just pulled out. Damn, who there with him? Nobody up there by himself. He got something on him? No, I don't know. I just came up here gambling. But he just got the little jewelry on. Alright, let me call you right back. Alright.
Your Honor, we're now going to play 3202.
What? What was that? I'll let them build their case, but I didn't hear. Jeez, man.
Where you at, bro?
What's up? Oh, I just came to the house. I was on the block.
Oh, I'm right here, riding through right here. I just got a car. The boy Johnny got down around the way, so he got something on him.
For real?
Yeah, I thought you ran away. I was gonna come pick you up.
I just left from this side.
I know how that shit is. But you far out in?
Yeah, I'm from Nolan.
Oh yeah, damn.
They say he ran around with it though.
Yeah, he out there at the gambling house. I ain't in no slide. I was just gonna goddamn. I'm finna see how I'm finna do this shit though. I'm finna goddamn. I probably need to put paper tag on them motherfucker.
And just call, let me know, man.
Alright.
Your Honor, the state's going to play 3206.
Right, and so what we have ultimately is that there is no evidence, none.
This is
I can't
sad.
grow. Hello? Hey, you ain't got no iPhone, like? Yeah, nah. Why you say that? Nah, I don't want to talk on the phone. I was finna tell you something
I'm gonna get pieced up. I'm gonna get pieced up on right quick.
Just like FaceTime, because they can't hear on that FaceTime shit.
Yeah, and we learned about that last week about the VoIPs. Like FaceTime audio, those aren't recorded and tracked via your cell phone records. Well, not in the same way that regular calls are.
FaceTime audio.
Alright.
So, Your Honor, the 3200 is DeQuellis Boyer, who's Little Quill. He's the brother of DeMarco Boyer, who the state believes is affiliated with Paradise East PDE, an allied gang of YSL, and is the brother of the phone records we discussed in August with Boyer. This is his brother. And so the next call at 3202 is Antonio Sumlin, the gentleman whose tattoos and the gun we were discussing, who was a defendant who pled. And so the first call, Little Quill calls Garlington and says he's with the ops. And he says his girl just pulled off in the car, Peanut just pulled off. I believe he's talking about a female whose nickname is Peanut. And then Garlington's like, well, who's up there with him? And he says he's up there by himself. And he asks him, does he have something on him? And Little Quill says, I don't know, he has jewelry. I believe they're referring to, does he have a gun on him? And then 2 minutes later, he calls Antonio Sumlin, another YSL gang member, and he says, and the person they're discussing is named Johnny, who at the time in March 22 was having a public Instagram dispute with Garlington. So they had problems with one another. He says that boy Johnny is around the way.
I'm sorry, Miss X.
Sorry. my problem. Apologies, Madam Court Board. He says, that boy Johnny has something on him. How far out are you? And then he says, they say he's riding around with it. And Garlington says, I'm not in a slider. I'm fixing to do this shit, though. Paper tag on this mother effer. So what he's referring to is a slider is a car you can quickly go do a crime in. A paper tag, you can't get caught. And then
I agree, Caleb.
literally, that was at 7:35, Your Honor. At 7:41, he calls back the first gentleman, Little Quill, and he says, do you have an iPhone on you? I got something to tell you, but I can't talk on a phone. FaceTime me because they can't hear. And I believe when he says they, he means the police, law enforcement. They can't hear on that FaceTime shit. And then the call ends. And I believe that. So the state, for one, you have 2 of the 3 murders in this indictment involve at least rental cars. And so the fact that he's talking about in a very short span of time, he gets word that this opposition or someone he's beefing with, and then within a couple minutes, he's calling Antonio Sumlin to help him and referencing getting paper tags and a slider. The state feels this is certainly in furtherance of the co-conspirator for what the state feels are apparent reasons. And that's why the state wanted to address these 3 together, Your Honor.
All right, I'm going to admit those over objection.
Can I make a record?
Yeah.
At least, Your Honor.
Yes.
Okay, so the state starts out by saying that this is Lil Quill is what I got, but last name Boyer, who's the brother of DeMarco Boyer, who's not charged in this case, and who no one really even heard of until 60 days ago. The fact that he's DeMarco Boyer's brother, to me, has no relevance.
We're in the game, Major League, for sure.
Mr. Atkins provided some context to this that I wasn't unaware of. I wasn't aware of, but
well, the problem is he says, well, I believe he's saying this. I believe he's saying that. When he's talking about jewelry, I believe that means he's got a gun on him. When he's, like, he believe in a lot of stuff. Where's the evidence, man?
According to the state, Mr. Garlington, as an individual, was having some sort of social media feud with a man named Johnny. One of Mr. Garlington's friends named Boyer, who is not this gentleman other than being on this wiretap, is not, to my knowledge, not mentioned anywhere in discovery. Calls Garlington, says, hey, I see this person that you're having some beef with, I guess. And then Mr. Garlington lays out his plan on what he's going to do to Mr. Sumlin. Again, I don't know it to be Mr. Sumlin. The state's saying it's Mr. Sumlin. I'm not doubting that. But what I just keep going back to, my client is in jail at this time. There's absolutely no indication that Mr. Williams is in contact with Garlington. Mr. Nichols is in jail at this time. I'm really struggling to figure out how I concede common sense listening to this call. It appears that Mr. Garlington is planning some sort of crime. I don't know what it is, a robbery or whatever he's planning on some gentleman, some individual he doesn't like. But what this has to do with the group at large, I'm completely lost on. And 401, 403, and then 401 and 403 seem to be major issues that would need to be addressed before these calls are admitted into evidence. Yep. And so I don't know. I think I concede. Of course, I don't represent this gentleman, but I concede that Mr. Garlington's involved in some criminality through these calls. But that's not really the issue. But it's going to lead to, my concern is a lot of confusion of issues here. And again, there'll be no one to cross-examine about some of these matters. Even when we get to the hearsay exception.
It's true.
Sure, I concede that in certain contexts, asking someone to ride with you or to talk through a plan to get at one of your enemies, personal enemies, would be potentially an 801D2E situation if the conspiracy that's taking place here on this call was the conspiracy that is charged in this indictment, but it's clearly not. So
And was there a crime committed? That's what I want to know too. And even if so, Max is saying, how is this in furtherance of YSL? Just because he was wearing a YSL t-shirt.
I just don't see it. And I think it's going to be very confusing to the jury just to hear.
I agree.
A conversation of two people who are not going to be testifying about some private animosity against some unknown person named Johnny.
Okay. State want to make any further record?
Your Honor, if the court would like further argument from the state believes that the initial arguments set forth of for one, the first call is letting Garlington know that this person's up here. So it could have been anyone. It's the fact that he gets notified, and what does he do with that information? He immediately calls, essentially immediately, a couple minutes later, Antonio Sumlin, who is, again, someone who was charged in this indictment, pled, has YSL street gang tattoos on his body, and the state believes Garlington and Sumlin are both YSL gang members. And so Sumlin doesn't ask a lot of questions. He's, in that brief wiretap call, it's essentially,
Okay.
So the state feels that this meets, it's actively talking about going to shoot somebody between two YSL gang members, together.
Okay. Thank you.
YSL gang
All right,
members.
my
You
ruling
ain't slick,
stands.
Atkins, come on now.
All right.
Alleged gang.
3501 is our next reference number, I believe.
Yes, Your Honor. And will be PDF page 3534.
Appreciate you, Tears of a Clown.
Okay, and I see, just so that I let y'all know we need to circle back on this. I think we all just got a letter from Mr. Arnold's attorney about scheduling, which I have not been able to read, but we need to figure out whatever she's saying about that and sort it out and get her an answer scheduling wise, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Uh-oh, Major League D said they gave immunity to the killer. Damn. I don't know, Max Sharp made it look that way, that's for sure.
Your Honor, did the court want to keep going with?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I just saw that come over the email, so I want to put it on our radar.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yeah.
And this call, $35.43. This is referencing.
Thank you to everyone who's liked the video, by the way.
This references what I discussed earlier about the jail, that they put Miles Farley in a room with Quay and Nard. So he says, Nard just called me 2 days ago, and this is in reference to what's going on in the jail. I can play it, but I just wanted to give that backstory context.
Okay. And so,
how much of this call are we going to listen to? I don't know if I can make it through.
what is this going to be? Trying to
Another
get
10-minute
him
phone
protection,
call.
like a conversation about that? Or what?
Yes, Your Honor. Give me 1 second. I'm pulling up my notes. Yes, so this 3534 is Garlington speaking with Unfunk, who's Mr. Greer, was a defendant on this case and has pled. And they're discussing, Mr. Greer is spent some time in prison and was affiliated with the Goodfellas, the gang that, when I was discussing the Capo Frank. And so Garlington calls him, and Mr. Greer says, hey, call him. And he says the mob and 9 Deuce, talking about the mob is also in reference to Goodfellas, and 9 Deuce, which is part and parcel of the Inglewood family. YFN just jumped on Little Miles, and Garlington's like, for real? This is like when they're first learning about it. Okay. And then they say, hold on, let me start a 3-way call. And he asked what floor on Rice Street. And then this sets off a cascade of events of trying to get to the bottom of who were these mob members in jail who teamed up with YFN to hurt Miles Farley.
Okay, well, I mean, I don't know that I need to hear it. Is there objection to this? And if so, is it the same one voiced, or one's voiced about the prior calls about getting protection for Miles and sorting that out?
It is, Your Honor.
Okay, my ruling would be the same then, so this is admissible.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So then our next one is
Judge Whitaker is moving them, though. She's getting through these.
30, where is it? 3510, 3543. Okay.
And
is this the same thing?
It is, Your Honor. And so that statement summary that in the center, I'm going through these in terms of, I didn't bracket them by subject matter, so to speak, but this pertains to the same
be careful, Freddie.
Incident where they're trying to get a hold of the individual in the jail to help get to the bottom of what happened.
Okay. And I'm sorry, who's he talking to?
So in 3575, Your Honor, he's talking with
Get it together, brother. Thank you to everybody who's liked the video so far, by the way. 1,800 of y'all liked the video.
So
Thank
I believe he's talking with Tinquarius Nard Minder, who is incarcerated at the time, is also the individual who was rooming with Marquavius Huey.
So basically, do the next 4 or 5 all have to do with this, or 6?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. So they are relevant. However, can you get that story in without using 11 or 12 different wiretaps?
Yes, Your Honor. I will look at all of these and
Okay.
see how to coherently get that through with as.
Okay, so
not
take a
all
look
these
at the
calls.
ones, that we already addressed, as well as these next. It looks like at least 6, right? And pick a few, and let's just use those, and not every. We don't need probably every little
Right, and so
detail
what
of
we have ultimately is that
all of it.
there
Yes,
is
Your
no
Honor.
All right.
evidence. None.
So narrow. Okay, so then that would take us to, well, I guess 30.
769, Your Honor.
Looks like it's still the same thing.
So this is a little different.
Okay. What's this one?
So give me 1 second, Your Honor.
Okay.
These phone calls are brutal, too. Here we go.
This, I'm finding my notes, but this is when he's speaking with whose nickname is Bobby Hunt, Khalif Adams, and who was a defendant on this indictment. I'm going to pull up my notes, or transcript, I should say.
Yeah, they got Atkins over there doing some of the dirty work. No court today, yo.
Yes, Your Honor. It's the call I was thinking of. He's speaking with Khalif Adams, who's in prison, speaking on a contraband phone.
Okay.
And the state's going to play this call for the court.
.403 is ready. It says, ClassE, can you answer one question?
Yo.
If one defendant is found guilty on one charge,
What you do, Twin?
does all the defendants still go to jail? No. They do not.
What do you got going?
In short, I mean, that's
Your phone, yeah, your phone,
a
your phone
complicated
ringing.
answer.
That nigga Newton down there with you. You at Hayes, ain't?
Newton just came down here.
Yeah. He had
It's
to come up.
Oh, they just told me. That's what they just told me came down
They
here.
got him on till 2 though.
I'll answer it better here in a second.
Yeah, I probably get my shot.
You can get him out now.
He can't come out here with all that fun bunny shit. He fuck up all my
Nah, I
shit.
already told him that. I already told him. I said, bro, got down. You know, he don't be on no bullshit unless it comes to him though. You know, I was just in the dorm with him, bro. He be chilling. Only reason like he gonna go is like, you know, they was on him on that other shit, saying he did that with brain, you know.
Okay.
No, that's it, man. My shit.
Yeah, they were saying that about Shawty, like, I asked you about the shit, you feel me? Like, no paperwork.
Yeah, you mob niggas in here right now, too.
Huh?
There's so many mob niggas in there doing.
You said so many?
It's something about 8 there. That shit ain't too on there.
Yeah, but them niggas has a buck, well, for Shawty. But yeah, I don't got down though. Like, yeah, he like, bro, this shit high as fuck now. He told me, bro, I need a tablet. He like, man, tell Hunt, man, I got down. He trying to pay for a tablet.
Yeah, I'm finna see. They supposed to really come Monday for these tablets. It's tax squad will come Monday for these tablets.
You say you got what?
I said the tax squad supposed to come Monday for the tablet.
Oh, for real?
Yeah, so I'm really finna see how they work their move Monday, and now I know what I can do for his
Yeah. Well, you over the whole, all what the hell you over here, huh?
Huh?
I said, what the hell you over, like, what you over the camp or you over goddamn all this shit?
Well, I'm over signing down a lot of shit.
What you talking about? you ain't even talking to poke ass?
I haven't talked to nigga.
What?
No, I've been talking to Twin, man.
Twin.
I've been talking 10 o'clock.
Yeah, I stay talking Lil Clock. I don't be talking. Tayway.
I talk to Clock at him up down there, but I also been doing a little bit.
He down there with Lil who?
Huh?
You say he down there with Lil who?
With one of my little brother.
Oh, okay. Man, he saying, man, it be back locked up.
How did he get locked up?
One of them niggas had got.
Yeah, but I thought he got out from that shit.
Nah, he didn't get out.
But yeah, what I was gonna say, I'm gonna pull up on that nigga. The tilt oil back there, that work. He worked back here. The tilt oil live in my dorm. What dorm he said he was in?
I had them DM to say, hold on, let me see. I didn't say he ain't got he in G1 106.
Yeah, so I'm pull up on those food in the morning.
I'm gonna tell that nigga he
said G1 what?
G1 G1 106.
I
don't know what the big deal is
I'm
about
sending
the
food back there. I'm sending a bag of food back there. He needs hygiene too.
Yeah, you know, he probably need all of that.
Yeah, I'm sending some of that shit back there. Who that came from, nigga, in G1? Man, fuck all that, nigga.
When he call me, I'm gonna try to call you, see if you up.
See, I'm up now.
All right.
Yeah.
So who was it that asked that question?
Go ahead.
Yes, Your Honor, that is the entirety of the call. I'm not sure what.
Okay, so from my understanding, and this is the reason I said no to your question. If one defendant is found guilty on one charge, does all the defendants still go to jail? That's why I said no initially, but there's more to it. And I think who wasn't in the chat? Oh, where did she go? There was, oh, Jenna was kind of talking about it. The weird thing with RICO and this RICO trial specifically is that they're trying to say that everybody was involved in everything. So it's weird because just because someone pulled the trigger and could be found guilty of the murder / attempted murder or whatever that is, they're saying that it involved everybody down to the person who Muntunk, who was helping with security and selling merch. So that's what they're trying to show, and that's what they're trying to prove and say, oh yeah, but they were all involved here. They were all talking about this. So even if this person is charged on murder, like all of these other people were still involved in that. So it's just one of those weird things. And one thing I found about individual responsibility, it says each person indicted under a RICO charge is still tried for their own actions or involvement in the crime enterprise. Even though RICO charges link them to a broader criminal conspiracy, the prosecution must still prove each person's role or participation. If certain members are found guilty of a murder, it doesn't automatically mean every other member is guilty unless there is proof that they also participated or conspired in those specific crimes. So that's why they're trying to paint like this big picture of YSL, and you beef with YSL, you're beefing with all of us type thing. So that's from my understanding. Again, I'm not an attorney, so do your own research. And if one of the attorneys, the amazing attorneys in the community, can maybe clarify some of that or back up what I'm saying, that would be amazing. So let me know.
But specifically, the defense objection is to this portion.
And that's why this is so hard to prove, because Young Thug,
my
the guy they're
objections
saying was at
are
the top,
similar to the
didn't know
ones that
anything about all this.
regarding this subject matter of Mr. Farley's in jail and people are messing with him. So those previously stated objections.
So you had, Mr. Atkins said that there was some different subject matter than just that in this call.
So yes, Your Honor. So at the time of this call, I believe he's in Hayes prison and says he's in Hayes, if I'm not mistaken. But Khalif Adams, Garlington's calling Khalif Adams and is describing who I believe is John Quavius Hood, a 30 Deep member, is coming to prison.
We'll get back to this in a second, since y'all seem to be interested in this topic too. A couple other things. There's proof of participation. RICO requires the prosecution to show that each person knowingly engaged in the criminal enterprise and furthered its illegal activities. So while one person's conviction for a violent act like murder may reflect on the gang as a whole, the other defendants would only go to jail if the court finds them guilty based on their own involvement in the broader criminal enterprise. Like Young Thug having everyone's phone number and inviting them to Miami. Allegedly. Different outcomes. In a RICO case, it is possible for some defendants to be convicted of those most serious crimes like murder, while others might be convicted of lesser crimes like, obviously we know the drug dealing or witness intimidation, or even acquitted if the evidence against them specifically is insufficient. So again, if y'all want to know what the main allegations are. There's a RICO charge, the racketeering. The second one is murder and attempted murder. Third one is drug dealing. Fourth one is robbery and armed assault. The fifth one is witness intimidation. What? I mean, okay. And then the sixth one obviously is weapons charge. We got a lot of felons up in this indictment as well. And then the third point on this, okay, yeah, we already got to. So it says in summary, only those who are proven guilty of RICO-related charges or specific crimes tied to the broader conspiracy will go to jail. Everyone's fate in the trial depends on the evidence against them as individuals. Right. So hopefully that gave you some clarification and answer your question.
So, yes, Your Honor. So
this is why
at the time of this call, I believe he's in Hayes prison and says he's in Hayes, if I'm not mistaken. But Khalif Adams, Garlington's calling Khalif Adams and is describing who I believe is John Quavius Hood, a 30 Deep member, is coming to prison, and Mr. Khalif Adams is a high-ranking
that can sue for whatever he wants
member in prison. And so that's why when Garlington's asking him, what are you over? Like just your cell, your row? And he's like kind of saying, I'm over a lot of stuff, and I can get him a tablet, as in a contraband tablet, what the price is. And so he's trying to get clarity on when John Quavius Hood is getting to the prison that Mr. Adams is at. And so Garlington, and Khalif Adams was indicted on this case, he's an indicted co-conspirator. And so you have Garlington speaking with him of basically how to facilitate helping someone transition to prison or get items that they need. And so the easy access between prison and someone on the outside, who's Garlington, and helping either friends of YSL gang members or associates, have a smooth transition to prison and be set up or squared away, the state believes furthers the conspiracy.
And who is it that they're gonna set up? Who's about to show up at the same prison?
Mr. John Quavius Hood is who the state believes that they're discussing.
So, John Quavius Hood is someone that I'm not familiar with that name from this case. I have heard the name before, but not involving this case, not in this discovery. So,
shout out to Freddie.
Again, I don't, and Khalif Adams can, claim that he's running things in prison. I would love to ask him some questions about that because that's a pretty easy claim to make. I don't anticipate that he's going to be testifying, so I won't be able to ask those questions. But I don't understand what, to the extent that we're going beyond the Miles Farley situation, what Demekion Garlington calling Mr. Adams, who's claiming to run the prison that he's at, to get a tablet for John Quavius Hood, has anything to do with any of this.
Okay, how are you establishing Hood being relevant to this?
So,
here we go.
Your Honor, it's twofold. For one, Mr. Hood's, again, this is from
You're right, David.
Listening with and talking through what is being said with the APD gang detectives. So with the investigators on this case in terms of what's being said, who are these individuals. And so Mr. Hood is affiliated with 30 Deep, which was what Demekion Garlington used to be before. And he's speaking with Khalif Adams, who again was an indicted co-conspirator on this case. And so not only is there some level of, in the case law, in terms of cohesiveness among, someone on the outside with one call speaking to a fellow co-conspirator on the same indictment in prison to help, whether you say that he's doing this for his friend, Mr. Hood, or an allied gang member, that conversation they're having
All right, I think that's a bit of a stretch. I mean, I understand it, but given that this is not even an alleged YSL member, but some affiliated gang, I'm going to exclude that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Right, and so what we have ultimately
What's our
is
next
that
one?
there is
The next one, Your Honor, is going to be
No evidence.
so
None.
PDF page 4082 falls some
You're
of
right, Chris.
into the same category in terms of there's two sections we wanted to play about discussing the mob and Nine Deuce jumping on Miles Farley. And
Thank
then
you for
there's
that, Brian.
also a portion that discusses this song that Garlington had. And so let me get my notes and play that portion because it's different than the subject matter of the jail.
He said like DJ Khaled.
So
Another one.
I'm going to play, Your Honor, 149 to 250 on PDF page 4082.
He said 149 to 250? Hold on a second.
Page 9 to 140. I'm going to play, Your Honor, 149 to 250 on PDF page 4082.
Did he just say 100 pages? Is that what he's saying? Or is he saying the timestamp? $149 to $250. Oh no.
146.
Did he just whisper to her, go to 146? He just told the judge 149 and he said, go to 146. Y'all heard that?
What's it? What's the top score? Go to 146.
He said, go to 146. Nasty. 149 to 250 though, even if it's a timestamp, that's still an hour.
Fuck with that studio? Yeah, I've been fucking around. I really just need to. It feel like the same shit, really. Like a nigga just hopping on songs and shit. But I got a cover song by myself. But
Oh, you're saying 1 minute.
I
got you.
Man,
I thought he was saying.
Me and Cole got down. We got the little song. Man, these folks fucking with this motherfucker. We ain't dropped it yet, but we really gotta we gotta redo the shit so we can goddamn take.
Yo,
I what?
you said who else on it with you?
Look, Cole, my cousin, we just got that.
That been hard.
That
Go to
motherfucker too hard.
146.
Them folks, look, that dog back that motherfucker.
I'm gonna add Doc back that motherfucker. Damn, man.
So, Your Honor, this specific portion is not this exercise with the wiretap started with specifically exclusively co-conspirator statements, but this really is for a non-hearsay purpose. And there is multiple calls where Garlington is discussing this song he made where there's like two versions. One version he's like directly referencing and probably dissing Shelkel, and so he keeps saying I got to take his name out of it. So this is one of those. The state wasn't going to play or not intend to play multiple of those calls. So this specific portion is for a non-hearsay purpose of the way that Garlington is cognizant of what is in a song that's publicly released and how that can impact law enforcement because the general theme, and I don't have on the top of my head the other calls where he mentions this. I have them in my notes, but not readily accessible. He says stuff along the lines of if something happens to him, so he's like, we got to redo the song. We got to take his name out of it so that it's not as overt or clear in case something happens to him. And so that was the purpose of why the state wanted to introduce this. Whether he made the song or not make the song, I do not know. But the fact that he is discussing and aware of, don't say too much, like he wants to make it realistic but not too realistic, because he can get in trouble if something happens to that person.
Okay.
So are we going, is this call off the sheet that was sent? Because I'm seeing on the screen it said 4062. On this it says 4082. I just want to make sure we're talking about the same thing.
No, you're correct, Mr. Sharp. It's reference number 4046, PDF page 4082, and there's 2 time hacks. So the 1 minute and 49 seconds to 2 minutes and 50 seconds was this portion. There's another portion that references what happens in the Fulton County Jail. But I just played the portion that, because I wanted to highlight it's not a co-conspirator statement, the state's not alleging, it's for a non-hearsay purpose.
Maybe it might be my eyes failing me. I thought when I just looked up at the screen, it said we were playing 4062.
Did you play? No, it says 4082.
Okay, my eyes are failing me. Good to know. So...
Time to get some glasses, Max. I feel you.
I don't... Again...
Yes, this is surveillance.
Having to change...
Wiretaps.
We're not talking about Mr. Garlington saying, okay, I'm about to go harm, as I understand it, Mr. Watts, or, hey, let's plan to go harm Mr. Watts. From my understanding of the call and the explanation given by the state, it's, I made a song and I need to take out references so if something happens to him, I don't get blamed for it. Not seeing the hearsay link, and certainly I understand that the state, or the hearsay exception, and I understand the state saying it's not hearsay, but Mr. Garlington saying I made a song with reference to Kelvin Watts, I don't know how that's not for the truth of the matter asserted. I mean, to make the point the state is trying to make, that lyrics need to be changed, for it to make any sense to the jurors, they would have to accept the first part of that statement, which is I made a song with Kelvin Watts, references to Kelvin Watts in it. They would have to accept that for the truth of the matter asserted for any of this to make any sense. So I believe it is hearsay, and it doesn't fall under any exceptions.
Fanboys and snitches, Patty. That's all they got.
Right.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to be...
Get the mic, Brian.
I'm going to be objecting also, and maybe I'm wrong, but these conversations have to speak for themselves. It seems like the state would be violating 24-7-704B if they're relying on an investigator to come in and talk about the mens rea or the intent or the meaning of these words. I understand that an expert may be able to talk about a certain phrase or a code word, and that's under Blash, B-L-A-S-H versus State, 318 Georgia, 325. It's in Division 4, 898 Southeast 2D 522, 2024 case. But if what Mr. Atkins is saying is that the investigator, I'm assuming is Investigator Viverito, will be listening to a recording and then explaining to the juries the meaning. I have an objection to all of these. I know I have no standing because Mr. Williams is not on these wiretaps, so I've been relatively quiet, but I will be objecting that the investigator gives some overall closing argument for the prosecution to say this is what's going on. So I didn't want, and you're making rulings, and I wanted you to take that into consideration if you don't mind.
All right. Were you saying that one of the detectives or investigators is going to say, here's what all of this meant?
So, Your Honor, this wiretap and on the state's witness list, this evidence of the wiretap is in Detective Viverito's folder. So
right.
She is who is going to be, and we have the T3 custodian who is going to, the state intends to lay the foundation for admissibility.
Okay.
But these wiretaps will be introduced through or published when investigator Viverito is on the stand.
Okay, but is she then going to interpret them?
So, Your Honor, could the state get back to the court in terms of I don't want to misspeak to the court about what different members of the team prepare different witnesses, and so I don't want to. If you can give me a brief moment in terms of what, I don't know exactly what investigative Viverito is going to be testifying to. What I was referencing is in terms of who, for example, she's a gang expert who can rely on hearsay in terms of, as any expert can.
Yeah.
Who is Bob Smith? Bob Smith is XYZ, right? I know he's a member of this group because I personally seen him or arrested him or whatever she says. And I know it's different depending on what she's talking about. But in terms of, I would like more time to accurately brief the court on this issue that Mr. Steele just brought up. If that's all right with the court.
Okay, but you hadn't already said that. I mean, that's...
Said what part, Your Honor?
That your argument for this portion coming in didn't have anything to do with that, right?
Not for him change. No. Okay. And in terms of this specific clip, he doesn't use the word shell cal. So like this short 40-second term, I believe that's what he's referring to because of other wiretaps. But we've obviously reduced the amount of wiretaps we're introducing. And so this, I believe this one kind of speaks for itself in terms of.
I guess that's what I'm getting at.
Yes, Your
Honor. You're just going to have the jury listen to this, and then you might argue later what it meant or didn't mean, but there's not going to be a witness who gives their rendition of what it meant or didn't mean.
For specifically this taking the name out of the song?
Yes.
I don't believe she was, and that's why I don't want to misspeak, because I don't.
Okay.
I will confirm, but the state's intent believes this specific portion of I need to take his name out of the song somewhat speaks for itself, but
all right, so then Mr. Steele, I'm not sure I'm following your 704 objection.
Because I don't hear the word shell cal, so I assume that the state's going to have somebody, I assume it's the investigator, Viverito, say what they're talking about. And
shout out to Amy.
Okay.
No witness can get into someone else's mental state.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get a handle on, is whether this is going to be some other witness who then says, here's what I think this meant, or whether the state's simply going to let the jury hear it and then later they're going to argue, here's the state's theory on this, because those are definitely two different things.
Yes, Your Honor. And to be clear, I mean, what happens quite frequently, and APD gang detectives and investigator Viverito, who is listed as a gang expert, could discuss, is how what's said in songs, whether true or not true, impacts what happens in reality in terms of the cases, the shootings, someone dissing someone and what responds. So if that evidence, the jury can combine evidence in the trial to make a determination. I do not believe investigator Viverito on this. We play this portion and she says, I'll tell you 100% Garlington's talking about shell kel and the song was titled XYZ and there was two versions. That's not what I understand she will be speaking about. On this specific point, and it might be because Mr. Garlington was arrested at some point. I don't know exactly what song he's talking about. It's just the fact that he's cognizant of and careful of what he puts in songs.
Okay.
So on that specific part, I wanted to make that part clear, Your Honor.
So
And in terms of, yeah.
And shout out to Amy for dropping the 50 bomb. Goodness.
So we have this case where the district attorney gets in front of the press and says, Mr. Williams shouldn't have been putting these things in songs.
Okay, well, what the district attorney said in front of the press is not come into this trial.
Well, they're trying to use lyrics, but then when someone says, well, I should take lyrics out of a song in case something happens, then all of a sudden it's scandalous. It just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, how could Mr. Garlington, if it was relevant to anything, how could him saying, you know, maybe I'll not put this song out here in case, not saying, oh, because we're about to do something to this man, in case something happens to this man, which it's not named, and so I don't want to take that away from Mr. Steele's argument. It is not named who that person is. Somehow that's indicative of guilt too. I mean, it's like,
Your Honor, are we allowed to, the court's question specifically regarding the 704 issue? I didn't understand Mr. Shart's response just now to speak directly to it. And I just want to make sure that we're addressing exactly what the court asked us to address just a moment ago. Could the court tell us in the context of what Mr. Shart just said?
I don't think Mr. Shart was addressing the 704. I think he was addressing what his earlier objection was, which is
704 objection is a way of saying the expert witness is telling the jury what decisions to make, which is not allowed. 704 objection refers to an objection raised in court when an expert witness is giving an opinion on something that the jury is supposed to decide for themselves, such as whether the defendant is guilty. The federal rule of evidence 704, expert witnesses are generally allowed to give their opinions but cannot testify about the ultimate issue that the jury must decide, like someone's guilt or innocence in a criminal case. All right, so clear that up. And while we've got this pause, big shout out to Amy. She just dropped 150 bomb. And she said $100 over on the Cash App too. Just showing love. Thank you, Amy. I appreciate you. Thank you for all the support and for everything you do. I cannot say that enough. Man, shout out to Amy for the major love. Sheesh.
sort of, well, y'all heard it. I'm not going to rephrase it.
Goodness.
Well, okay.
No,
and
David,
then
it's not live.
I guess one thing that Mr. Shart did say is, how is this really a non-hearsay purpose? Don't you have to sort of accept a part of it as for the truth?
So, Your Honor, the state, my understanding of this portion in terms of whether it's Garlington discussing removing words in a song. I'm not, he says it like definitively, I had to redo it and take his name out of it. So in my mind, the truth of the matter, sir, would be like Demekion Garlington changed the name and made a new version, but it's the way that he is cognizant of what he's saying and how it could implicate him. And part of, from the state's position and kind of what Mr. Shar was alluding to is, you want to get close to the line, but not you don't want to say like, I went to 300 Main Street on May 4th at 2:42 p.m. in a red Corvette and I shot Bob Smith in the head. That's too obvious. You could get, if you actually did that. So you may say, you may allude to it, but you don't want to be so obvious with it that law enforcement says, well, yeah, we have you on camera in that exact same car at that exact same time. So it's a little bit of a gamesmanship in terms of publicly discredit someone else so that they know what you're talking about, but there's some plausible deniability if something happens to them where it's just a reference or a allusion to it. So, yes, Your Honor, you may.
Don't worry, Your Honor, we're all lost.
just got down. I really been like,
Fuck with that studio.
Yeah, I've been fucking around. I really just need to. It feel like the same shit, really. Like a nigga just hopping on songs and shit. But I got a cover song by myself, but man, we got me and Cole got down. We got the little song. Man, these folks fucking with this motherfucker. We ain't dropped it yet, but we really gotta redo the shit so we can goddamn take.
Yo.
I what?
You said who else on it with you?
Lil' Cole. My cousin, we just got that.
Got Lil' Cole. We got another person brought in. Co-conspirator.
Them folks. Look, add Doc back them motherfuckers.
I'm gonna add Doc back that motherfucker. Damn, man. I'm ready. You gotta get on this. I got so much shit.
You do?
Is that it?
Yeah.
That's the whole thing? All right, I'm gonna admit that.
And so, Your Honor, the next call is reference number 4635, PDF page 4672. And this is Garlington speaking with Mr. Copeland.
I gotta find it.
4672.
Hello. Yeah, nigga, I can hardly hear you. What you?
It's fine. I mean, I was just going to ask, is the summary of it, that's essentially what it says?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the purpose of it would be
you see the
consciousness
right?
of guilt, what?
So it's a number of things. One, Mr. Copeland is telling Garlington, you better be careful on social media because I just talked to, I believe he's talking about Mr. Sledge, said there's a 43-man RICO indictment. This jail call, or not jail call, this wiretap call is April 23rd of 2022. So the indictment was made in 2022. And there's another call we haven't gotten to yet on Antonio Sumlins where he's basically saying this, why Copeland is in jail, in prison, gang task force, there's some issues in jail. And they're coming at him, and so someone says, I also talked to Copeland, and he says, basically, this YSL stuff is hot, and we better fall back. It's actually another male calling someone, referencing the conversation with Copeland. And so...
Ayana Davis says, I have a question. So YSL is supposed to be an umbrella gang for multiple subsets of blood gangs and not people in different gangs, like some in Bloods and some in Crips. No, what they're saying is YSL is the gang. They've alleged that it's been under some gangs, but at this point they haven't really gotten into that. But what they're saying is that YSL is the gang and there are Bloods and Crips and If Gang and other gangs all under YSL, which obviously if you know gang culture or you just understand gangs in general, doesn't make sense.
To me, this is a co-conspirator statement and furtherance of the conspiracy was Copeland and Garlington by warning him that, hey, they don't know if it's true or not.
I'll be right back.
It's the timing and what they're discussing is pretty close to when this indictment came out. It wasn't 43, but it was 28. But nonetheless, it's him warning him, hey, be careful. That's what Sledge just told him.
Okay. Any objection to this evidentially?
Your Honor, relevance, again, we're talking about two individuals that are not sitting here at trial, and I don't believe that they purport to be speaking on behalf of anyone here at trial, and any motivation they would have would be self-preservation. So I believe it's hearsay, but leave it with the court.
Okay, well, it is hearsay, but I think this comes in under the co-conspirator exception, admitted.
Your Honor, we only have one more from Mr. Garlington's wiretap, which is reference number 4959, PDF page 5000.
Mm-hmm.
And we believe this, Mr. Garlington is speaking with the same Mr. Wright we had discussed earlier. And we're going to start at 28 seconds and play to 1 minute and 41 seconds.
Okay, well, is it accurately summarized? Is that the gist of what I need to know?
Yes. Yes, Your Honor. This is the call I had.
There we go.
Referenced earlier when we were discussing drug sales.
Okay. Is there an objection?
Yes. This is exactly what I was talking about. Garlington is selling drugs on his own to fill his own pockets and has nothing to do with my client. Garlington
That's a fact.
claims that my client, who at the time of this call is in jail, mind you, so it's nothing that's happening as they're speaking.
Well, I don't know about that. I mean, it seems to me that we've got plenty of evidence here that lots of people in jail have access to phones and social media and what have you.
Point well
that may or
taken.
may not.
Point well taken. All right, so, but he is just basically almost jealously or saying, boy, I wish I could sell drugs on the internet as well as Shannon used to, or as far as I've seen Shannon do.
At some unknown time period.
Yeah, right. And so, you know, I'm not acknowledging that Shannon was selling drugs in 2022 on the internet, but even if he was, that has nothing to do with what Garlington has going. This is actually proof that Garlington and Shannon aren't some unified drug dealing organization. And so Garlington's just saying, yeah, I don't know how Shannon does it, and I wish I could do it, and this is what I would do. I mean, it's hearsay. It's not in furtherance of any conspiracy. It's bad character evidence, and it's irrelevant.
Your Honor, I think this kind of falls into also the category of a declaration against interest in terms of their discussing amongst each other their drug sales, how to sell more Percocets, and he's like, you should try putting it on Instagram. And so in terms of getting through a hearsay objection, the state feels the most applicable exception to what they're talking about, which is selling Percocet pills, is there's some indicia of reliability because they're making statements that, you know, if it was that Mr. Wright and Mr. Garlington is against their interest to be discussing. And so in terms of if they're being, you know, so that's the state's primary argument is, you know, discussing how to better sell narcotics and talking about their own narcotics and essentially dealing and how to boost sales, basically.
Okay. The thing I suspect that Mr. Sharp's problem with it is not the two of them discussing it, it's the mention of Mr. Stillwell and his alleged methods for selling illicit drugs.
Correct.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so
the state, so his objection is it bad character or?
Well, I mean, well, the declaration, and we litigated this on a different matter, but the state tried to argue declaration against penal interest. The thing about declaration against penal interest is you're allowed to declare things against your own penal interest. What you're not allowed to do is declare things against other people's penal interest.
Well, that doesn't get it in.
Right, and so that's my issue.
So it's essentially, yeah, just the kind of gratuitous mention of what Mr. Stillwell might be doing. Like, where's the foundation for,
So, Your Honor,
why, or not the foundation, but the exception that lets that part in?
in terms of it being bad character?
And hearsay.
So the state feels that Garlington making that statement, I guess, and I could be wrong, my mind, him discussing
you definitely could be wrong.
Mr. Shard's client is successfully selling Percocets on Instagram and how Mr. Wright needs to try that strategy is wrapped up in my mind in the same, he's making that statement about their own drug dealing. And so I view it.
By the way, there's so many, just a little background. Selling drugs on Instagram is wild, by the way. But now Instagram does have like peer-to-peer communications, which means it's basically like FaceTime calls and FaceTime audio, to where there's really no way of tracking that. So the communication is just between you and the other person. And a lot of other apps are rolling out these types of features too. Y'all know Apple has a lot of these features in place already, which is why they were talking about getting iPhone. So it's interesting. It's going to be interesting to see the type of things that are happening on Instagram moving forward, especially once the streets find out about it, which I'm sure they have already.
And the court may view it differently, but I view it in that bucket of a statement against interest. It's part and parcel of that.
Selling perks on Instagram is crazy. That's why. I've seen people sell weed on Instagram, but selling perks on IG is crazy.
Yes, Your Honor.
Jeez, man. All right, y'all get it together. Just trying to get everything hooked up. Shout out to Michi. She said, people sell ads on IG. Percocet isn't that far-fetched. Well, jeez. I think depending on the, well, I'm not even gonna comment on that. Shout out to Michi. That's wild. You're never gonna catch me, Rice Street. Rice Street is the most supportive op I've ever seen in my life, but I love it. Shout out to Rice Street.
Oh, dude, man, got out right there. They have
Amos
Thursday. He probably be back already.
He probably, I thought he said he was on Boulevard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, you don't want to put them perks on your page, bro?
But what perk?
The perks I got.
You want to post? I post. I don't give a damn. I don't never, my shit never sell for Instagram, bro.
For real.
Bro, I always used to post perks and shit. My shit never sell for Instagram. That's why I don't read them doing that type of shit.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah, my shit never sell for Instagram. I was like, what the fuck?
I seen that nigga, if you doing that shit, bro, that's what he can hit.
Yeah, no, he was doing that shit. Some folks will be, they'll be hitting when the motherfuckers gone and shit. Like,
yeah.
The motherfuckers gone.
Yeah. That's how
you get the big in that hoes and get the riding by where you be at and shit, you for the motherfucker.
Yeah.
I both know.
He said my shit never sells on Instagram. These are some wild dudes, man. I can't believe that.
Bite that damn.
I'm talking about it on the phone.
Your Honor, upon further consideration, the state cannot play this.
Okay.
I'm thinking through what Mr. Shard said and my thoughts, and so.
All right.
Right, and so what we have ultimately is that there is no evidence.
He said, yeah, so we're going to pass on that. It's just like when Miss Love played that phone call between Quindarius Zachary's dad and the other officer. Yo, that phone call was wild. Thank you, Amy, for the super sticker. Amy's ready for lunch.
I don't know. Somebody might bite. Damn. Damn, man, I don't pick it on.
Your Honor, upon further consideration, the state cannot play this.
Okay.
I'm thinking through what Mr. Shart said and my thoughts, and so.
All right. Okay, so that's the end of the Garlington wiretap, I believe.
Thank goodness.
And who's the second wiretap?
It's Antonio Sumlin. He's in a little different category because he's someone the state intends on calling at trial.
Okay.
So, I mean.
Do we need to address this right now, or?
I don't believe we do, Your Honor, because a lot of his call, I mean, there is some that I believe are co-conspirator statements, but he's also a testifying witness, so some of these are going to be more an impeachment.
Okay. All right.
He's like, lady, stop talking with the mic on.
Well, I mean, obviously,
crazy.
Some of these say, and a lot of these say entire call, and I don't know exactly the length or substance of what an entire call is, but it seems like if it's to impeach, then depends what he's saying, and maybe I do need to know beforehand what's on there to know whether it's actually impeachment or not.
Yes, Your Honor, and I guess I should be clear. So the state believes that these 9 that we included, if Mr. Sumlin was not testifying, the state's position is they are co-conspirator statements. I just wanted to highlight that, unlike Mr. Garlington, we are expecting him to be called.
Okay.
So we have 9 highlighted, so we can turn to Mr. Sumlin's if the court wants, Your Honor.
Okay. Let me cross out the ones that y'all aren't intending to use for any purpose anymore. Okay, and 1, 2, 3. Okay, so of the 9 that the state might end up using, so let me ask the state. So you expect to question Mr. Sumlin and have him essentially testify as to the substance or whatever it is that you wanted, you just expect to get it in through his testimony, and only if he doesn't testify as expected would you then turn to these, or what?
We would be asking him about what is in those calls.
Okay.
I think it might be helpful to litigate them, but then it would just be impeachment. I don't know whether there are any particular objections to the subject of these calls, so it can't hurt.
I guess maybe we'll find that out first. So these 9 calls that might potentially get offered, is there going to be objection to any of these? To the substance within them, or?
So, as I understand what we're saying, is it's kind of like the Quindarius Zachary prior statements where the state's not going to seek to admit these, but just as impeachment, and we just want to know if the subject matters should be off limits in our view. Is that?
So, I think so. If they end up being offered, is there going to be some? Assuming they would be properly offered for impeachment, is there some other objection?
And Your Honor, I'll also say, just to make it clean, we should probably proceed as if we're going to offer them, because even if the witness is testifying, they are still admissible co-conspirator statements. So rather than mix those 2 together, we'll treat them like we're just going to offer these 9.
Okay. All right. Let's take a quick restroom break, and then we'll come back. Let's take 10 minutes, come back at 3 and tackle these.
All right, we are not going to do that because we are on a delay. Well, a serious delay, but I'm going to read some of these super chats that I didn't get to in here. Let me see. Where's the last one I read? Shout out to Chris K in the building. He says, Thanks for covering this. The judge is tired of the DA. Yeah, she's struggling this morning, and they're really having a hard time showing why some of this stuff should be let in, which I think is good for Judge Whitaker to see, because as Bruce Harvey mentioned, a lot of this stuff she didn't get to see at the beginning, and some of the things that were allowed in by Judge Glanville shouldn't have been allowed in, and it's wasted a lot of the court's time already. So Judge Whitaker is getting to see it for herself, and now she can kind of put a stop to the madness. Thank you for the super chat. We've got Maricela is in the building. Okay, says good morning with the 2 bomb. Appreciate you. Tears of a Clown, aka Lily Rose, says ClassE Beats gang gang. You get a Rico and you get a Rico. Everyone gets a Rico. Thanks for joining the gang. Now hit the like button. It's free. Les Cleaver is in the building with the 2 bomb, says, and the beat goes on. I think is what he meant to say. And then Amy dropped a 50 bomb showing love. She also dropped 100 over on the Cash App. Major sponsor of today's show. Y'all see her in the banner. Thank you to Amy for all the support, all the love, and all the support. I appreciate you. We got Michi in here, says, congratulations, ClassE Beats gang. We are all being indicted for listening to this crap. Rico, Rico, Rico. Yep. And Amy's ready for lunch. Y'all know she's got the banana super sticker, the cake, the pie, and the ice cream cone. Hey, oh my Lord. Yeah, it's almost that time. We're gonna watch a little bit more of this to see what's going on and skip ahead. Thank you all for the super chats and the support, and thank you to everybody who's liked the video too. We're at 50% of you that have liked the video so far. If y'all could take a second and just like the video real quick, it really does help the channel out. And thank you again to everybody who shows support. Let's skip ahead and see what we are gonna get into after their bathroom break. What do y'all think so far? I asked a question in the chat if you all think that Mr. Atkins believes in this case. He was up there struggling a little bit. He had a little bit of that Adrian Love syndrome.
That you
I don't know.
You want.
He was struggling there for a minute, so I think he'll get it together. We're gonna fast forward a little bit and see what he says. There we go. Hopefully we don't have too many more of these phone calls to get to. Shout out to CEB gang for life. No, this is not live. Jonathan, this is from yesterday. Oh, Amy also, dang. Amy had some breaking news for us too about allegedly what happened in court. Amy is our word on the street, and she's saying there are sources saying that Miss Love may have to turn over her laptop. Possibly because of some of the things that were happening while a witness was on the stand. Amy, if you could repost that comment. I meant to save it, but I lost it because so many went by. Because I want to make sure I read that and let the people know what's going on. All right, here we go. We're back. Take care, Gerard. Yeah,
and actually,
sprinkles, it's looking like
stateside, while they're doing their tasks.
Let me see.
If y'all have had I don't know if y'all have had a chance to look yet about what Ms. Merchant sent, but it sounds like. Okay, y'all can take a look at that now. Sounds like she just wants the couple of things she asked before, which is that amount of notice into honor her leaves. So I don't know if y'all got an idea, when
Ooh, you're
you
right.
want
I didn't.
that witness, but y'all can be looking at that maybe at the
Thank
same
you for
time.
that, Jason. How many super stickers did she send? 4, 449 minus 4. That's 3, 6. So that's over there. 5. Should be 596, right? I need to add 596 to her total. Did I do that math right? How is my mental math? Y'all gotta let me know if I did that right. Jason, you gotta let me know. Amy said He asked to subpoena the laptop because he being who? Who's the he? That's what I want to know. But he asked to subpoena the laptop, or maybe he meant to type she, because he believes Love and Sprinkle were communicating while on the stand. Ooh, also because she caught Love lying about emails. God dang. That's crazy. I guess we're going to see what happens with that. Hopefully we get to find out tomorrow.
I'm looking at images.
End the week on a good note. That's right, right? Oh, Doug Weinstein, she said. All right. 149. Let's see if my math was good. 49 times 4. Oh, it was right. 596. Look at me mathing. Yeah, I believe it too. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Y'all know Judge Whitaker wants to see this all the way through to the end, so not like we're gonna get a mistrial or anything. End the week on a mistrial, Gwen. That would be crazy. We've also got Michelle in the building dropping, oh my gosh, dropping the 10 bomb. Says hello, classy beats and all. Good morning and thank you for being here, Michelle. Thank you for the support too. Amy also says 369. Damn, she fine. Shout out to Amy dropping the lyrics in the building. And the 10 bomb. Now I gotta update. Now I gotta update the banner. She's over there singing to herself. All right, let me see if I can skip forward. Oh, hold on a second.
I assume it's going to be the same answer for everyone ultimately if one person wants to be there, and so I think the group answer is that the clients are going to be present, okay, or would like to be present.
Okay, so then it will need to. We can do that tomorrow, and it'll need to take place in the courtroom. But I mean, this is not really a part of the trial, so it's just a gigantic in chambers conference with everybody here, but not actually in chambers because we don't have the capacity to meet in chambers with this number of people.
This is what she talks about.
Okay. All right, so that'll be our plan for tomorrow. It will be recorded, but it will not be a part of these trial proceedings exactly. It's just a meeting.
Dang, Amy, now you got that song stuck in my head.
All right, so that is settled then. So that's what we'll plan to do in the morning. And then frankly, if we get finished with that, I don't know if y'all have gotten together yet on where everybody is with regard to what you think has come in as evidence and what hasn't. But that would be another thing that's not really, it's more organizational, but that needs to get done that y'all could also do tomorrow. Okay, and then we'll, I would imagine, be back for trial proceedings, non-jury, on Friday. I don't think we're going
to go back and find that.
I don't think we're going to get through everything today, but okay. All right. Well, let's at least keep plugging along. So on these.
Okay, so I'm going to go back and see if I could find this, y'all, because it had to have been last week on Monday. Thankfully, there were only a couple weeks, so I'm going to, while we're listening to this, I'm going to multitask and see if I can find the time when Love was possibly talking to Mr. Sprinkle. Because y'all are saying Love and Sprinkle were communicating back and forth. Was it the last time she was wearing the banana outfit? I think it might be. Because last Monday was when she got cooked by Judge Whitaker. 9 days ago. It might be this one. I'll find it.
Sumlin 9 wiretap portions. Is there a defense objection to any of them? And if so, which?
His last day on the stand, so it wasn't 9 days ago then. It wasn't Monday. I would have been Tuesday, right? I actually like sprinkle. I'm not gonna lie. To the wall. To the. Oh,
Don't everybody speak at once. Maybe that means there's no objection.
Somebody better speak up.
Or there would be no objection.
What's his last day? On Tuesday or Monday? I think it was Monday. Yeah, I think it was Monday.
I guess when
Oh, my bad, Max.
I'm going on the assumption that, I guess when I'm voicing my objections, and correct me if I'm wrong or you'd like me to do it differently, Your Honor, I'm going on the assumption that Mr. Sumlin is testifying, and a foundation for hearsay is laid. Is that?
So, I mean, I guess the last thing Ms. Love said before the break makes me sort of wonder whether she intends to present these as something other than in the event they're offered for impeachment.
Yes, Your Honor has it right. The state will, at this point, we do tend to offer it to use it as co-conspirator exceptions to the hearsay. So to tender the actual cause, we believe that there's...
Okay, then how would they be, if they're not prior inconsistent statements? Sorry. If he testifies and he doesn't testify along the lines of whatever is said in these calls, then you would offer it as a prior inconsistent statement. Is that correct?
It would be, but that's just one that's one way we believe it's admissible. We also believe that it's co-conspirator hearsay, which would be admissible even were he not testifying. So,
but if he is testifying, then how are they both admissible? If it's not a prior inconsistent statement.
So, when you,
how are you getting it in through him?
So no, we would not be putting it in through him.
Might be right, Alexis.
The reason I said to treat it as if we were not going to use it just for impeachment purposes is because they are actual calls that are admissible irrespective of whether or not he testifies. So
you're losing me there. How?
She said
it's a prior statement of a witness who's testifying at trial. It would seem like it would have to either be a prior inconsistent statement or a prior consistent statement when there's been some suggestion of fabrication.
So, Your Honor, my understanding is that he does not, let me actually pull up the support for my position before I speak so that I'm speaking clearly.
As usual, Love does not know what she's talking about.
What we have ultimately is that there is no evidence, none.
Uh-oh. Was it as soon as he got up to the stand? Hold on a second. Because I thought I saw her shake her head. Let me see. I'm going to keep looking through this while we're watching the rest of the other trial. I think it might, maybe it's right here.
Mr. Sprinkle, good morning. 4, is that true?
Hold on, let me turn it up for you.
4, is that true?
Yes.
All right. You are a deputy district attorney with the Fulton County District Attorney's Office.
I am.
You have been so employed, as you've indicated in your testimony, for since 2013. Does that sound about right?
2011.
2011. Okay. I heard from an investigator. Tell me if this is accurate. That sometimes when a file comes to you from an investigating agency, that it is not always, in your words, complete.
Yes.
And you testified, did you not, that it would be your job or your duty, your responsibility to do some additional work. That may not be the word you use. You may have said investigation. I'm not sure.
I understand. Yes.
Do some additional work. It would be your job or your duty, your responsibility to do some additional, in your words, complete from an investigating agency, that it is not always, in your words, complete.
Yes.
And you testified, did you not, that it would be your job or your duty, your responsibility.
I don't think that's the moment that they're talking about. So we'll keep it going. I'll keep looking for it for y'all. All right, peace, Savvy Amira. Thank you for being here. I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna catch her. I'm gonna catch that.
So the court's question was, if he's testifying, how is it admissible if it's not a prior inconsistent statement? Is what I understood the court's question to be.
Or a prior consistent statement if the prerequisites for that are met.
So hearsay is an out-of-court statement offered for the truth of the matter asserted. So regardless of whether someone testifies or not, hearsay it's still hearsay. And if we were to use these statements, there has to be some exception that allows it in. One of them would be if it were not actually hearsay, but were simply a prior inconsistent statement. Well, one way to get it in would be if it were a prior inconsistent statement.
Correct. Yeah. I don't think anybody questions that if it ends up being offered as a prior inconsistent statement, then that would be a way it could come in.
Right. The other way is, irrespective of whether it contradicted his trial testimony, it's a hearsay. It's still an out-of-court statement the state offers for the truth of the matter asserted. Right. Therefore, it is still hearsay under those circumstances. Mm-hmm. Therefore, it would have to be subject to a hearsay exception to be allowed in.
Right.
So therefore, it would also be admissible, permissible evidence as as an exception.
I don't know. We might have her, y'all. Because this is super weird right here. All right, y'all look at this. So this is Miss Love on last Monday when she got absolutely cooked by Judge Whitaker.
Wrong, you correct me, okay? Okay. But one of the things that you said in your report.
Hold on a second. Let me slow this down. This might be where it happens. I'm going to keep watching some more of it.
Is that it seemed as though the arrest of these individuals, and by the way, these folks were arrested. I mean, they weren't just like suspected. They were actually put in jail, right?
We got that.
Okay.
Go ahead and ask your question.
All right, get in there. You said that this was almost entirely based on the statement of Mr. Spencer Wright.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Okay. And it turned out that Detective Thorpe, or whoever else was involved, did a ridiculously poor job of vetting or looking into Spencer Wright's statement. Isn't that true?
Let's at his computer.
Well, there was surveillance
you
video.
See, she's looking at him. She keeps looking up at him, and then she starts typing.
Mr. Wright said he was a specific place, and there was video that would have showed whether or not he was there. That apparently was not inspected very closely prior to obtaining arrest warrants.
Right, well, in terms of non-investigated...
She looks like a parent. You ever been in a play or had a kid that was in a play and they're up there saying their lines and you got that one parent that's looking at them is like saying the lines along with them? Like, yes, you can do it. Remember your lines. And the goat jumped over. That's what it looks like. I don't know.
Spencer Wright, Thorpe spoke to Spencer Wright on the 19th of October, right?
Yes.
Now, when you came into the case, right, is that true?
Yes.
That you thought to do was to really examine the statement from Mr. Wright. Is that true?
Yes.
And you did so?
I did.
And you spoke to him?
I did.
One of the second or third things that you did, right, just using some common sense, was to go and look for video around the location where you thought Spencer Wright would have been, right?
That's right.
And you did that.
I did.
And you were able to find it.
I was.
And it was pretty easy.
It was.
Detective Thorpe, before arresting folks based on your words, almost entirely the statement of Spencer Wright, never took the time to even go look for video where Spencer Wright supposedly would have been, did he?
Well, that I don't know. You would have to ask Detective Thorpe that.
Well, did you? Did you ask Detective Thorpe that?
Oh. I'm sure I did.
Let me guess. The answer was that he had not done it, right?
I remember the answer he gave at the preliminary hearing about the video.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this. When you come into the case...
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Hey, I'm still doing research here, so that might not be the moment. I'm just showing them to y'all as we go along. So let's go back to
a statement by a co-conspirator of a party during the course and in furtherance of the conspiracy, 801D2E, i.e. 801D2E. So it's
yeah, I'm with you, Freddie.
Admissible multiple ways as evidence many times is.
I'm not buying it yet.
Irrespective of the availability of the declarant.
She sent to him, remember your lines. APD is garbage. Send.
All right, well, I'll sort that out later. What are the objections?
Okay, there she's shaking her head.
Are there objections to the 492, page 493?
Yes, takes his glasses on.
Reference 492, relevance, hearsay, with 1057, I don't, relevance, 1059, definitely relevance, potential hearsay.
All right, you know what? We're going to take a break. We're going to take a break from this regular court proceedings, and we're going to do some investigating, because I'm going to need y'all to help me out with this.
Around the time that the murder occurred, right?
That's correct.
All right, so here we go. We're going to figure it out together. Let me, that is not what I meant to do. So we're going to do a little bit of live investigating here. So let me slow this back down. So here's another instance, and this should be easy to find because there wasn't cross-examination of Sprinkle for long. So this is another instance where I found
vehicles at the Texaco gas station not far from the barbershop around the time that the incident occurred, right?
That's correct.
You talked earlier, if I'm right, about this Pontiac Bonneville, right?
That's correct.
You talked about other vehicles that you saw, correct?
Correct.
You talked about individuals that you saw there at the, by the prosecutor, whether you saw Kenneth Copeland.
What's he doing? What's he doing on his computer here?
Your answer on any of those videos. Remember that question?
I do remember it.
Your on any of those videos, whether you saw.
That's correct.
He's clicking and looking at
you were asked by the prosecutor whether you saw Kenneth Copeland on any of those videos. Remember that question?
I do remember it.
Your answer was no. That's right. Because you did not see Kenneth Copeland at that gas station, that Texaco, sometime around the time that the murder occurred, right?
That's correct.
Right. You weren't asked, so I'm going to ask you whether you saw Jeffrey Williams on that video at the Texaco at around the time that the murder occurred.
Okay.
Did you?
No, I didn't see Jeffrey Williams on there, no.
And you looked at the entirety of the video, right?
I did.
I think I heard you say that, I don't know if you said all of them. A lot of videos, you went back and looked at them multiple times, right?
Mm-hmm.
So y'all are saying, so this is from Monday. It was from last Wednesday, or was it from Monday? Good morning to everybody who's just joining us.
January 10th, 2015, somewhere between, let's say, 6-something and 6:15 and 7:30, the time that you looked at the Texaco. Jeffrey Williams is not on any video, getting out of any car, getting into any car at the Texaco down the street from the barbershop. True?
That's true.
Okay. I heard you say that one of the things that interested you when you looked at that video at the Texaco is that you saw an Infiniti You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. And you became interested in doing some additional research or investigation on that Infiniti vehicle. You remember that?
I do, but actually, I think that if we're talking about when I decided to do certain things, I may have actually conducted additional research on the Infiniti before it caught my attention on the Texaco footage. I can't remember the exact, but just to be precise. Yeah, I mean, it was probably around that time, but yeah.
But one of the things that we know for a fact is that you determined that you wanted to get more information about this rental vehicle, right?
Yes, that's right.
And you did. You and or your investigator made contact with the folks at Hertz, right?
It started with me when I sent the subpoena to Hertz, and then after that, after receiving some documents from a woman named Carolyn Fry, then I asked David White to travel to the location where the vehicle was rented and speak with the staff at that location.
Okay. So let me ask you some very specific questions about any information that you gleaned about that rental vehicle. You testified earlier that...
Okay. We're going to take a break from that. But I'll find it, y'all. I'm going to keep looking.
Hmm. 1384.
I'm going to find it.
Relevance 403, especially what Mr. Dorsey says. Also hearsay, because again, this is Mr. Dorsey speaking as well as Mr. Sumlin. 2442, hearsay. I believe that that's being utilized to assert the truth, for the truth of the matter asserted and to link people to the quote-unquote web.
Hmm.
2712, hearsay. About what Mr. Copeland told him.
When he took his glasses
hearsay, especially as to what Mr. Dorsey says, assuming Mr. Sumlin testifies still that these are statements by Dorsey on this call, and 2980 relevance.
Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Stephen.
Does the state want to address those?
Yes, Your Honor. And the first two, 493 and 1064, so the first one, Your Honor, that is really one of an impeachment category in terms of Mr. Sumlin at the beginning of this wiretap gets a bunch of text messages in a relatively short span of time from an unknown number, and he gets progressively angrier, and these messages are, and I was trying to pull them up, they're not on this wiretap, but some of them reference his friends who were murdered. And so he starts escalating what this number calls. So when he says, call me from a text app, you're not saying nothing, he's kind of mumbling to the phone of this person who was calling him or texting him. And he says, I'm ready, drop the dot, as in drop, send your location. I'm on Cleveland, or I'm at the Chevron on Cleveland, pull up, I swear to God, I'm gonna go out with a bang. That the state is not intending to offer that as a co-conspirator statement. On some level it is, and I was trying to pull up the text messages that are tethered to this, Your Honor, so that the court could get some clarity on what leads up to this.
But
it's primarily for the way that these text messages give reference of kind of like where he is, and it's somewhat territorial of the locations. So I'll pull up these text messages that are in the wiretap that the court hasn't seen.
So I guess I'm trying to figure out what the scenario, they're saying not for a co-conspirator. So like, is a scenario where this would be admissible, like if they ask Mr. Sumlin on the stand, have you ever been to Cleveland Avenue? And he says no, is that?
Your Honor, what is, our position is that number 1 and 2, our position is that number 1 and 2, we will use those of the ones that we've identified. We will use those to impeach if necessary. So when he says call from a text app, I'm not saying anything. That's a call that is better put upon this witness to have him talk to the jury about why it is that he is asking that someone call him from a text app. One of the ways that they conceal their illegal activity is using other applications besides traditional cellular service. So that one, and number 2, the second one, which was page 493 and page 1064 and reference number 492 and reference number 1057. Those two are better as impeachment if necessary. So all Mr. Atkins is saying is that rather than offering those two, we will ask questions of the witness. And to answer Mr. Sharp's question about what it is the state would be asking, when you use a text app, why is it that you would prefer a text app? Why would you have someone, if you're talking to somebody on a telephone, why would you do that? Or if there's an objection to relevance, why did you do that? Did you do that on a particular day? And why did you do it? To explain what it is that text apps do that cellular service doesn't. In other words, it doesn't allow you to monitor it in the same way that cellular service. So the content of those two calls are, we believe, good and fine impeachment information.
Okay, and so that might be less than the entirety of those two calls.
Right. So the information we would get out is what I just said. Of course, we would be asking him about what dropping a dot means. I'm
not going to say.
He refers being at the Chevron on Cleveland. In his factual acknowledgments, he talks about that location.
So he took a plea.
And so the entirety of the call would not be, we wouldn't need to play the entirety of the call under these circumstances. It would be, these are questions we'd ask the witness.
Okay. Okay, so that would just
take us down to the
need to be dealt with at the time, I guess. But I guess if he doesn't say those things, then that is available.
Right. Yeah.
For impeachment and potentially substantive evidence. Okay.
All right, here we go. So this might be it. Let's see here. So let me put this on normal speed. I think I found the spot that y'all were talking about.
Person's number, or if somebody cites it on their Instagram page and says, call me on this number, that's going to get me to probable cause that that's that number. But if it's just that it's in temporal proximity, and I think there was another issue with the retention period of the number. I don't. All I know is I didn't think I had probable cause. I never got probable cause to get the tower records.
Let's work backwards a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Let's start with this. When you sent out the request for the records that you thought was a number to Demekian Garlington.
Yes.
You requested those records specifically without tower usage logs, right?
I did.
Okay. Now, you had previously requested records for what you thought was Kenneth Copeland's phone number with the tower usage logs,
body
right?
language expert. I know. It's interesting how I don't know. I can't tell here if he's nodding and going like, yeah, that's right. That would happen. Or if he's nodding and saying, okay, I got it.
A little bit, right? Mm-hmm. Let's start with this.
Because it looks like he's going back and looking through the report that Mr. Adams is referring to. And then he's looking, and he's like, okay, yeah, I did do that. Because he says yes.
When you sent out the request for the records that you thought was a number to Demekian Garlington.
Yes.
You requested those records specifically without tower usage logs, right?
I did.
Okay. Now,
he says I did, and then
you had previously requested records for what you thought was Kenneth Copeland's phone number with the tower usage logs, right?
I don't know that it was me that did that. It may have been investigator or detective Dennis that did that.
Right, but one thing that you knew, I mean, you honed in on the fact that there was supposedly this call between Kenneth Copeland and Demekian Garlington, and they were supposed to be at a specific place on the night of January 10, 2015. Isn't that right?
That's correct.
Right. And so you had listened to Kenneth Copeland's statements, and you knew from Copeland's statements that he made reference to Wade Garlington, who was an important witness to you, right?
It was.
Right. You knew that Copeland had made reference in his hours of statements about this conversation and the location of Garlington, who was an important witness. You knew that.
That's right.
Right. And so you still didn't think that that was enough for you to go ahead and try to verify whether Kenneth Copeland was lying through his teeth or not by getting Garlington's tower usage logs.
I will say one other thing.
Your Honor, may we approach?
Yes.
They looked at each other and gave a little good job nod. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna keep going through it, y'all, and we'll see. I think we'll watch a little bit more of this.
All right. And then this 1059, 1066.
Interesting.
Who's Yayo?
So, Your Honor, the state believes that Yayo is YSL member Eric Moore.
Okay.
And on this call, Mr. Sumlin is speaking with Christian Eppinger on a contraband phone, obviously an indicted co-conspirator. And the state would, playing this call for the court is helpful for argument, and the state feels it's important to play this call.
Okay.
Interesting. Hey, y'all don't miss a beat, man. Y'all do not miss a beat. We'll have to go back and see if we can figure out.
Hello? Hello?
Uh-oh.
Yo, what's up, baby? Hey, bro. Hey, what, you with that nigga Yayo? I ain't with baby. You got blue? Alright. Nah, I said Yayo. Nah, I don't know where Yayo is. I ain't with no figure Yayo. I was with him yesterday. Yeah, tell Yayo I'll do something to him. I can't wait to tell him. Yeah, tell him I'll do something to him. What? I ain't even gonna, huh?
Threatening people.
What the hell that nigga did?
Wild too. Damn.
No, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That shit, you know exactly what I'm talking about. That shit with Lionheart. No, I ain't talking about that, but that too. He telling on you?
No court today.
No, I ain't talking about that. I'm talking about, you know, I said, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. You just with him. Yeah, I was just with him. I don't know. What you talking? No. Huh? What you talking about? I don't know what you talking about, baby. Man, they just told me I just took a little shit, man. Oh, the little light skin?
Oh, y'all can't hear me? You should be able to hear me.
Did it.
Oh, okay. You're good.
It's not bad. What'd you say, Bree? No, they're my folks. I ain't even, man, listen here, bro. I ain't even, nigga locked up, bro, so niggas feel like they can try me in type way, bro, but I ain't going for that, bro. I ain't going for that, bro. If I have to come out, that's what I do. Nigga ain't gonna be trying my folks, bro. That shit over with. I'm saying, Bree. Nigga already ain't fuck with me. Nigga not fuck with nigga, watch nigga anymore. Fuck nigga ain't sending nigga a dollar. Nigga ain't gonna be taking shit to my folks. They be sending me something, bro. I just got out, bro. I took something from him too, so what you saying? You said what? I said I took something from nigga too, so what you saying? You ain't doing what I just said? You said, yeah, yo. No, I said, I know you. I just said, you know what I'm talking about? That's why I called your phone. You said what? That's why I called your phone, because I know you were here. That's why I just asked you to do it, yeah, yo. Yeah, well, yeah, yo. Yeah, nah, hell no. Man, you the same. That shit ain't smooth, bro. You the same one that did that money too, bro.
Papa.
You said what? You the same one. You the same one. Bro, I ain't trying to talk over the phone, bro. No, I ain't talking about money. I'm not talking about money.
I'm gonna look at it again, Lo.
So what you saying? So what you saying? You want me to give him that back? What? Well, they don't deserve to have shit. And what I'm saying,
he's basically saying, y'all say you don't understand. He's basically saying some other people were threatening or trying to mess with somebody close to him. He said he wasn't gonna have that, and so he said, "Tell other dude that, we're not cool."
I'm not talking about money. Fuck money. Yeah, wait, see, try to get the collection on Yayo, and I did it.
I can't say.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, man, but then he riding around talking about he looking for me, man, on my side, bro. Listen, bro. Who you think got the man like that, Obama, bro? That's what I'm telling you, bro. I just talked to him, bro. He like, bro, you folks ain't got nothing, bro. I'm like, well, what you talking about? He just told me, I'm like, man, hell no. But Yayo, bro, bitch ass nigga, but all the reason why nigga Yayo still out there, bro, because he don't know what's up with that nigga ass, bro. Bitch ass nigga ain't gonna be out here just doing shit like you just with the game. Fuck nigga, you killing. Yeah. Come on, bro. Nigga, tell on you. Hey, when you talk to him, tell that nigga call my phone. We can meet up.
I don't let him the business. I know that's your folks now, but bro, I know that's your folks now, bro. But all that riding around talking about you looking for me, nigga, I'm at the Chevron. Oh, whatever you with.
Hey, Obama. So you telling me if a nigga do that, you ain't gonna look for him?
You said what?
So the nigga do something, you not gonna go look for him?
I'm gonna be in the air. I'm gonna be. Yeah, I'm looking for him, but I'm.
Well, listen, though. I just told him. I don't give a fuck what you do, yeah, yo. Obama, that time he like, bro, you got shit. That's fucked up. But
he said, I don't care what you do. I don't care what you do to Yayo, but Obama, that's family. Don't mess with my family. Look at Max Sharp, right up next to the speaker, man.
Nah, man.
I feel where you coming from, bro. I ain't know you fuck with that little nigga like that, but I ain't getting shit back, bro.
Dang.
That shit crazy, bro. You saying that send me money while I'm in motherfucker. Ain't nobody sending niggas nothing. They crazy.
Yeah, I just got out.
I ain't talking about you, Obama. I ain't talking about you. I know you just got out. I just found out you was out today. I ain't know you. I thought you still locked up.
Hell no. When you talk to something, that's how they hit my phone, man.
Thank you, Diddy's baby oil.
Hey, yo.
Okay, is that the entirety of it? Okay. And so that objection on the floor is relevance. Is that the only objection you made on that one?
Could be hearsay.
Yes, that is in 403. To be honest, you know, and I've listened to all these calls, but I'm having a tough time tracking. You know, I'm saying relevance, but in all candor to the court, I don't even know what they're talking about. So I guess that's a good start for relevance. But if the state could explain the relevance, maybe I'd be able to respond.
Your Honor, I need to play PDF page 1052 for the beginning. It will give context to why Christian Eppinger is discussing Yayo the way that he is. And it's a call that is.
And Obama.
So on this other call, this is my notes, one that we have not played. It's stating, you know that boy Yayo, why you say that? Quay called him from the jail and they said something about he locked up for murder because Yayo told on him. Everyone in the neighborhood's telling me that. And the guy's like, I didn't know that, man. I swear to God. I don't believe him because Unfunk, who's Mr. Greer, told him that they just got off the phone with Quay. I don't know how true it was. Bree, the one starting all that rumor. And then he says, I don't know. I talked to him myself. I just seen him in Unfunk myself late last night. So I believe that Christian Eppinger is talking to Antonio Sumlin about that because of this rumor that Yayo was snitching. I don't have any evidence that Yayo was actually snitching, but the initial reason why I had initially included, we whittled some of these down, and so you kind of need, and it's very brief, but this call doesn't make really any sense without the context of this conversation on PDF page 1052, which is April 7th at 11:14 a.m. This call is April 7th at 1:53 p.m. So they're a couple hours apart. So what I may do, because I think it's dispositive of, or not dispositive, but very relevant to the court's, necessary for the court's ruling, to play 1052. I'm going to start at the beginning because my notes have this coming up quite quickly in that call.
Rose, what's up, brother?
Who you with?
I called my girl on the way. Where you at?
Now I'm in the car, but tell him why. You know, you went up there when Yayo was mad tonight. B-Bean said he snitched and shit.
Nah, I don't know that.
Yeah, he was like, man, B-Bean saying I snitched. Don't wait, and this, that, and third. Man, I tell you what, Tay came now and said the same thing. You know, Tay who you are, he came to AJ last night. He was like, man, y'all know that boy Yayo. I said, why you say that? He said, man, Quay called me from jail and said they blocked him. Right. They said something about he locked up for murder because Yayo told on him.
Yeah, you know, everybody in the neighborhood told me that. Maybe I told everybody been telling me that.
I ain't know that, man.
You ain't know that for real?
I don't like.
Swear to God, bro. Yeah, everybody telling me that. I don't believe it though. They told her, they had them dig out of the phone with Quay. I don't know how true it is, but they kept saying Bree the one who's starting all that rumor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm talking to him myself.
Yeah.
I just seen him on late last night on the talk to him.
Where you at? They pulled up to the store last night?
Nah, we was at Wing and Seafood. And Uncle tonight he finna go back to LA.
Oh, so where
he finna.
Again.
So, Your Honor, that was the portion which that portion we just played is at 7:14 a.m. on April 7th, and the one we just discussed was at 1:53 p.m. In the States, I believe if the court deems 1066 admissible, you need to have that brief portion from 1052 to have context to why both Antonio Sumlin and Christian Eppinger on a contraband jail phone both indicted YSL co-conspirators in the RICO on this case are in Eppinger's discussing Yayo about that in those terms. And it furthers the conspiracy by keeping abreast of, obviously, if he actually was snitching, they would want to know that. And two, it's how they're discussing this. And it reinforces the solidarity between each other, specifically Eppinger and Sumlin. And of course, snitching, or if someone, that term has came up and will come up a multitude of times in this trial in a number of different ways.
Your Honor, may I ask a question of the state? Who do you believe to be, like we're kind of going back to that first call now, who do you believe to be Quay?
That's what y'all were saying.
Okay, y'all aren't intending to introduce the first call, right?
Well, with this whittled down list, we did not. I quite frankly believe that may have been an error because the context of Eppinger speaking with Sumlin about Yayo makes no sense if you don't hear this conversation about the rumor that he is.
So we need to add that back in.
Yes, Your Honor. It's the first minute of this PDF page 1052 call, or 1 minute and 50 seconds because it's still on display on the screen.
Right.
Okay. So, does it matter who they believe Quay is?
It does to me, Your Honor, and this is what, first of all, we have two Quays here.
Yeah.
But my stance and my belief is that initial call and the context I have is Bree is the source of this information. I believe I know who Bree is. Is that this Quay being discussed in the first call is neither of these two individuals and is a separate Quay that is not even alleged, I've never seen alleged to be associated with YSL. So if that's the first call that gives the context, then the second call, Mr. Eppinger is ranting to Mr. Sumlin, who seems to be thoroughly confused by the whole situation, about someone named Yayo, who's not mentioned in our discovery at all other than this wiretap. So he's obviously a very tangential part of whatever we're calling this. Yayo supposedly snitching on Quay. Now, I do believe that a relevance determination depends on what he's supposedly snitching on and who the Quay is. And I get, generally, or not generally, but sometimes we say, well, that's a jury question. The state, in my mind, before putting up all these statements, need to know what these people are talking about before putting in front of the jury as just a baseline question. And I don't believe, unless the state can prove to me or show me that I'm wrong, I don't believe that the Quay that's even being discussed in either of these calls is anyone associated with this case or anyone sitting in this court.
Your Honor, I do not know specifically. I don't know specifically which Quay they're talking about. I know that I don't have any information from Atlanta Police Department of the person they believe is Yayo providing a statement to them. So I don't know exactly what they're saying he snitched on in terms of if they're talking about one of the Quays in this trial or another Quay. I do not, to answer Mr. Sharp's question or the courts, if the court's inquiring, I do not know if they're referring to the murder of Shamel Drinks or some other act. I don't know. So I want to make that clear. The state's intent with this call was to enforce how they discuss, the snitching tenet in YSL. If someone's snitching, they want to find out about it. And, Eppinger clearly wants to exact violence on this person if he believes he's snitching. I'm trying to think through in my mind, quite frankly, with, if this nickname instead of Quay was Bob, it would not create any confusion. The state's position would still be, it's how they're discussing this rumor of snitching. I understand, considering prior objections, that defense counsel like Mr. Matthews or Mr. Nichols' counsel would want to make it clear that.
Is there a way to do it without the name Quay coming in?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, that would solve that one.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then, I would think that it is highly relevant how these alleged YSL members, some of them, I think, maybe established YSL members, are discussing the idea, if true, of one of their own snitching.
So, Judge, I hear the court.
Judge Whitaker's making a
I would
case
ask the
for
court under 403 to require, if it's going to come in, obviously I'm not consenting for this to come in, but if the court believes that it comes in for that purpose, that under 403, that it be redacted, the name Quay, for confusion, misleading the jury under 403.
That is granted.
Thank you, Judge.
Your Honor, I understand, as I understand your ruling, it's not the specifics. It's Mr. Eppinger and Mr. Sumlin basically discussing the concept of snitching.
Yeah.
But my other problem is my understanding of that phone call. Mm-hmm. I don't view necessarily these two calls linked as Mr. Atkins does. It seems to me that Mr. Eppinger is upset about a robbery and returning property. That's kind of as I understood the second call, not a comment about quote unquote snitching.
There certainly seems to be a part of that's what it seems to be covering, right?
That was the state's understanding, Your Honor. I never can perfectly know exactly what someone's stating in these circumstances, but the state believed these two were connected because of how quick they're the same day and a couple hours apart. So I don't, other than what I proffered to the court, I don't have any other additional information about.
Oh yeah, no, but like another part, other than talking about and seemingly being mad at the idea that Yayo might be snitching, there's also this discussion, isn't there, of somebody
Your Honor,
potentially stop this one
taking
before
somebody's
that.
stuff and.
Your Honor, I believe with the 1066 we only played until 150, and so I think that comes after that.
What I understood is Eppinger ranting, Sumlin saying, what are you so upset about? Are you upset about this rumor of Yayo snitching? And then Eppinger says, no, that's not what I'm upset about. I'm upset about this robbery. So I could be wrong, but I didn't even on the call hear necessarily Eppinger speaking bad about the concept of snitching. I think he was upset about something completely different, and Sumlin was confused. And then.
Well, we might need to listen to it again. Okay.
All right, that's enough of that. Appreciate y'all. I think we've seen and heard everything we need to see and hear. And then, as y'all know, they're having an in-camera meeting today. A little bit of an ex parte. Nah, it's not ex parte, but it feels like it. Let me read these couple of super chats and y'all can get out of here and Amy can get her lunch. So we've got Michelle in the building. Shout out to Michelle, says, hello, classy beats and all. Thank you for the 10 bomb. We also have the sponsor of today's show, Amy over there getting low. Getting low. I see you, Amy. And then shout out to Stephen T. Satchel, gifting a membership. If you got that membership from Stephen, make sure you say thank you to Stephen in the chat. We're going to be back tomorrow, bright and early, 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if y'all could do me one favor after you like the video, is make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss whenever we go live or drop a new video. I'm dropping some videos later on this afternoon and a couple more tomorrow. Now, obviously, we'll be live to finish out court for the rest of the week. So thank y'all for being here. Appreciate the support. And for everybody who liked the video and showed some love, I will see y'all in the morning. And again, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Shout out to Lil Quez in the building too. I see you up in there, Quez. Y'all know what to do. Keep growing, keep pushing, keep it classy. We gone. Peace. I love it.